Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Putty, and welcome back to the 51st edition. We're just past the half century now of the Sunday podcast. We already have more podcasts this year than last year, so we're on the up. I am joined by occasional, frequent guest when we talk about the Graps. It is, of course, Tucker Davidson from Silly Tuck. How you doing?
Hello.
Have you got a book to sell?
When I saw this, I thought maybe I did, but I checked back in with the publishers, and apparently I don't. So,
well, that's certainly something. Apparently, my stream quality is bad. Do you mind checking on that, seeing how it is? Because
I definitely.
It might just be that YouTube's like, oh, we don't like a picture stream. Which, is fair.
They're like, it's only a picture. What's going on here?
But, yeah, I don't know how many of these you've done over the years. Probably a couple, right?
It sounds okay to me.
Yeah, okay.
The stream? Yeah.
All right, good. Yeah, I don't know how many you've actually done over the years, but you've probably been the most frequent wrestling guest. I don't know, Marshall did a few wrestling streams a couple of years ago. Around like 2015.
I think there's 3 or 4, I think, if I'm not wrong.
So yeah, how have you been? How's it going in Canada?
It's going. I've got the ECW series that I'm really enjoying going quite well.
How long has that been going on now?
What's that?
How long has that been going on for? Because it's been quite a while.
Uploaded episode 87 yesterday. I've kind of slowed down a lot in terms of production on it. I'm getting to about an episode a week now. That's mostly just because I'm lazy.
Well, I don't know. I definitely expected it to slow down quicker. Every now and then I'll check on the channel, and you've usually got an episode uploaded quite recently, so you've defied my expectations.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, 86, so that's like, half a brand split.
Yeah, I've got it's a Rosworth.
Oh, it's actually 87. You're even underestimating yourself.
Oh, there you go. What do you know?
So yeah, how many in-game years have you gotten through? Is it somewhere like 1.5, 2 years?
Yep, directly 1.5. I think I'm in. Okay, on screen, I think I'm in August now. Off screen, I think I'm in October, so it's more a year.
In January?
No, it starts in December, so I'm about year and 3/4, year and 4/5.
Yeah. So yeah, what have been the? Also, I like how one thing I will say about the laziness angle is that you do tend to reuse the thumbnails a couple times.
Yeah, for a month, I'll just change the number. I try to change it every in-game month, so it looks like I'm attempting something.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is.
Yeah, of course. I noticed about 9 months ago, you started a WWF brand split series. What happened to that?
Oh, yeah, that basically ended just because there wasn't a lot of time on... I guess one half of the series. He didn't have enough time, I guess, for us to totally work it out all the time. Episodes going forward would have been really drawn out and really sporadic. We had a lot of stuff written down for it, actually, but I think I still have it somewhere. But it just probably wasn't going to progress anywhere that we really wanted it to quick enough. So.
Just call it to a premature stop. This is why you need the consultation process,
Yeah, because we had started it, and we actually got off to a pretty good start, and then it was kind of one thing after another with 370, I guess, and just kind of not having the time to do a whole bunch of different stuff. Life gets in the way or whatever.
Yeah, it happens. So you need to bang out a whole series in a summer, the tried and tested. Tried and tested crunch week.
Yeah, you got to get two. You got to do a whole bunch of 2 months worth maybe of episodes in about a week, and then across the 2 months in summer, you got to get done I don't know, probably a year's worth or something like that. Did we do a year and 2 months? I think we did.
It took. I think we compressed that time of our lives a little bit. It took a lot longer than I think we remember. I think it was like we ended up working for like 6 to 8 months on that series, but we definitely uploading wise we spent about a year doing it, because we started when the brand split started, which was around May-ish, and then
I think we did the month before, didn't we? It was.
Oh yeah, it was approaching, and everyone was doing brand split series. And then we finished the Mania after that in real life, which was 2 Manias after that in the game, I think.
Which was 1 Mania ago in real life.
In real life, yeah, it was 33, I think, or 2 Manias ago.
34.
Oh, was it 34?
Because isn't this 35? And then
this is 35. This is 35 coming up.
I think we ended in 2018 in that save, didn't we?
I don't know. It feels like so long ago now.
Yeah, it's really weird that like we were still working on it. Is it 2 years ago now, or only one?
Yeah, it's almost 2. Well, yeah, it's almost 2 years. I think it's almost 2 years, because this is because it's around Mania, and this Mania I think is the 2 years after we stopped. So you're right. It would be 34, I think, that we finished on in the game.
Because we were one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were 1 year up. I remember that.
Yeah, so it would have been. I think, wasn't it in Florida, the one we finished on, or was that the one before? Because it wasn't the tagline Sunset. No, the 33 we did in Florida, and that was Sunsets and Slams.
Yes.
And then 34 was Where It All Begins Again.
Yes, the best tagline.
So, but yeah, what happened to your one-man booth podcast? There hasn't been an episode of that for about 10 months, from what I can see here.
10 months. Wow, that's a lot better than I thought it was.
Oh.
I thought it was like more a year and a half. That's interesting. I don't know. I just kind of.
Wait a minute. Sorry, I'm mistaken. The thumbnail is One Man Booth. It appears to actually be TW. My apologies.
I just got some random thumbnail. Who knows?
I don't remember when the actual last.
I assume that was a stream that I just kind of forgot to change the thumbnail of, and then. Only quality content over on my channel, right? Only the best.
So we have some times from Goofy in the chat from when the brand split lasted. Apparently, the first episode was the 6th of June, and I assume that's 2016. And the last one was the 22nd of March, 2017. So
yeah, that's pretty good timing, I think. Like what? 7
and we
months
were finished a lot earlier than that, I think, because you were away. In March, so we had done the crunch week at some point. Right,
yeah, Mania week. I was away in. I forget where I would have been.
I don't think you were away Mania week. I think it was like a week before or something like that. Because I think you were there for the release of the last few episodes, but I had to schedule some of the earlier ones.
I think I had just gotten home the day of the final one going up, because I watched Mania. I know that, like the actual one.
Yeah, apparently it was about a year ago that you did your last one-man booth podcast.
Yeah, one-man booth kind of ended because...
July 2017, so almost 2. You're right, yeah, a year and a half, you're right.
Almost, yeah, I was going to say a year and a half or so. Why would that have ended? I think it was fairly fresh at that time. I was going to try to do it weekly, and... I think I was actually away, shockingly, the next week after that one that you've seen. And I think probably the most important thing about uploading on YouTube, or I guess anything really, is like getting in a routine with something.
Well, it gets easier every day. Well, that's the hard part, though. You got to do it every day.
Yeah, and so when I missed a week, it was, all right, I'll make it up next week. And then I didn't. And then... by then, I assume it had just gotten away from me, and it was whatever.
Actually, one of my best podcasts was recorded when I was away. I think it was 2016, 2017 or something. I went to see an NXT house show, and I had not enjoyed myself, and I had realized why I was starting to dislike NXT. And so when I got back to the hotel, I recorded an editorial basically on what I thought was wrong with NXT, and I still think that's one of my.
I remember that one.
I think it aged well, all things considered.
No, looking at it now, if I remember correctly, a lot of the stuff that you've talked about is, I'd say, still a problem, probably.
Yeah, I think it's gotten arguably worse. I mean, some stuff's gotten a lot better. I think they are telling stories in NXT, but I do think they're relying a lot on their kind of pre-made stars and stuff like that. And the wrestling, I think, has gotten mostly worse outside of Shayna.
I would say there's a lot more of a focus on, I mean, especially with the Gargano and Ciampa stuff, there's a lot more of a focus on like melodrama and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like things meaning stuff. I guess in context of like a big long story than putting together maybe a single match that works really well or tells a single story very well. I think there's a bigger focus on telling things long term, which
over the course of multiple matches.
Yeah, which knowing the WWE, they're not really great at that. So,
well, I think the problem with that, because I like multi-match stories when they're done well, I think the problem is because of the personnel they have, both writing and wrestling. I think the way that it was done with Ciampa Gargano last year, a lot of the matches just ended up becoming just homogenized in terms of the actual action. And they were all basically the same, but with the next melodrama point added into them. It wasn't a well-weaved match with the next chapter of the story. It was, here's our usual shit, and then this is the next chapter of this Shakespearean play we've written for you.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Especially near, I forget what one it was, when they had was the Last Man Standing match?
I think that was in Chicago, around August-ish.
It was very similar to the Falls Count Anywhere match that they had before, which in itself was very similar to like a 2 out of 3 falls match that they had later on.
Yeah, and even the first match was like pretty violent. Like so it wasn't even like I think one of them was unsanctioned. They had some cool stuff with the floor.
Third one, I think.
Something like that, yeah. And the first one, or the first 2, I think I really enjoyed. Or I enjoyed them a lot at the time. And then I went back, because I did this with Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne last year, is I said, okay, I'm enjoying these, I should add context. I should go back to the ones I've missed or the ones I haven't seen in a while. I should watch them all together and see, like, if they are just all the same match or whether it's a good rivalry. And that series holds up, the Bate Dunne stuff. I think that series is actually really good. But then when I went back and I watched all the Gargano Ciampa matches, I was like, wow, that Cruiserweight Classic match was way better than any of the other ones, like by miles for me. It was slim. It had one storytelling beat that was told excellently and weaved throughout the match. And it was really, really good. And then everything that then I rewatched from 2018 didn't hold up. And then I also went back and watched the Gargano Almas match, which I have a very weird relationship with, because Almas has become a guy who I really like a lot of his matches, but I don't actually like him, and I can't quite put my finger on like how this has happened. But he's one of the weirdest guys where it's like, I swear you can replace him in all of his good matches and they'd still be as good, but that doesn't change the fact he's in all of those good matches. So it's like hard to like discredit him. But, you know, Rey Mysterio hasn't had those good matches with anybody else over the last 5 years, so it's hard to completely write him off. But, you know, that Gargano match is the same, where I feel like you can fit anyone in Almas' spot in the Gargano match, and it's still good. But still, that match is a lot better than a lot of what Gargano did that year. So that also put the rub off of the Ciampa stuff. And then, later in the year, we got Gargano Aleister Black, I think, which was really good. Like, surprisingly good. What did you think of that match?
If I recall correctly, at that point, I had kind of... I watched it, of course. But I had kind of stopped watching the TVs to NXT, because during the summer, so when I had a lot more free time, I would watch the TVs, and I was fairly, I guess, interested kind of in where they were going with the Gargano Ciampa stuff. And with, you know, Black getting hurt or whatever, and the big whodunit or whatever, I mean,
yeah,
I think everybody could kind of see where it was going from a mile away.
Well, it was obviously Maggie Simpson.
Yes, of course.
Are you too young for that reference?
Yes, definitely, because I have no idea what you referenced, so I'm like, okay. Then again, I haven't watched very much of The Simpsons, right? So,
well, in the season, there's a season. I mean, I think I'm too young for that reference, but I call it. The Simpsons. But in season 7 of The Simpsons, they had a whole season 6 into season 7. It was a 2-parter spread across 2 seasons. So like the last episode in the first season, in the first episode, and it was Who Shot Mr. Burns. And then in the interval between the season 6 and season 7, it was actually a pretty big deal. And then it just turned out to be the baby.
It's always the baby.
It was a good episode. Season 7 is when it started going downhill. Anyway, Cara, you were talking about Black and Gargano.
Yeah, I remember thinking the match was pretty fun, but I think I must have missed something that you had seen, because I even remember this discussion that we had. You liked it a lot more than I did. I thought it was perfectly fine as a match, and it worked. But you were going on about how it's really, really good, like surprisingly, like you said. And I was like, yeah, I thought it was like fine and all, but I wouldn't go far to be like really, really good. So
I just remember. So I don't like either guy's 2018. Not really. Aleister Black or Johnny Gargano. Well, I say
Lars.
I say that. Lars? What was his name? Who is it again?
Lars Sullivan. Yeah,
Sullivan.
Sullivan. Yeah.
Isn't he on the main roster somewhere now, just hiding?
He was.
Isn't he the guy who was gonna face John Cena at Mania this year, but had like an anxiety
attack? He's got the anxiety problems, and like became the most relatable wrestler ever somehow.
An event or something, which
and he still hasn't shown up yet.
It'd be interesting to see how that turns out, even though I don't rate him as a wrestler.
No, not at all.
But I actually did like but I'm from someone just mentioned in the comments confirming that I'm too young for that reference, but I'm from the valleys where everything's about 10 years behind, so 1994 is kind of 2004. Yes, I still think Gargano had a good year overall, and if you look at some of his key highlight matches, which was Almas, Dream, and Black, he is a really strong candidate. He was third. He ended up coming third for me in my kind of Wrestler of the Year rankings, and I think I put him third on Most Outstanding on my newsletter ballot. I don't think I had him for the Lou Fez Award, because I don't think he's got a drawing argument at all. But I might be wrong. But yeah, I don't like Aleister Black. I thought was like one of those guys where you look at him and you're like, I don't quite understand the hype. I loved Tommy Enda as much as anybody, right? It's a dated reference, but it wouldn't be. I'm not too young for that kind of reference. I liked Tommy Enda as much as the next guy, and I just don't. I'm surprised he found as much success as he has in NXT. He's not one of those guys that would have said, I've talked about Marty Scurll for years, right? I don't like Marty Scurll, but he's the type of guy who's going to blow up in NXT. And I didn't see that with Tommy End at all.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you on that, I guess. Him coming in, I didn't think he'd be... I think it became kind of apparent in the first couple months or so how highly they thought of him. Especially because he had the belt within like 9 months of showing up.
Well, he's been the thing about most people don't realize is he's been under the surface in NXT for years. Because he debuted at NXT TakeOver The End, which was a long time ago. But he's been kind of waiting for his opportunity.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, the pay-per-view was named after him.
Oh my god!
Remember?
I kind of do, and I remember him kind of being there, maybe, but I don't think he did anything.
He wasn't there.
He wasn't there?
No, I was memeing.
Oh, you got me all confused now. You got me all confused now, because I'm like, that's 2015, isn't it? What the hell has he been doing there that long? I thought he only signed in, 2017. What the hell's going on? You got me there.
Okay, no, yeah. So that match, it was clean, it was crisp. Black, I finally kind of bought the hype clearly he's always worked really crisp, but in this particular scenario, he kind of worked crisp enough that he forced Gargano to be a little bit more direct. He forced Gargano to kind of cut the crap. And Gargano's character stuff works really well with Black, because as much as I think Black doesn't wrestle that well in NXT, in the NXT environment, he does have a very clearly defined, very simple character. And it works quite well up against Gargano when it's just like he is this no-nonsense, kind of very good at pro wrestling, very good striker. Oh, and that's the thing as well. It was a very good striking. It was one of the best examples of striking in WWE in a while. It was a really strong striking match, which, I mean, I've always been... If there's one style that I'm biased towards, because a lot of people over the years have accused me of being biased towards grappling and high flying and stuff like... No. If one style you'll find Calm Buddy is biased towards, it's brawling. It always has been. It always will be. Like, I like a proper old school brawl that's actually good, but you just don't see a lot of those anymore. Even in New Japan, it's very sterile sometimes.
Yeah, I feel you there. In terms of kind of the stuff that I like in wrestling, I'd say I'm kind of the same, but not to such an extreme. You know what I mean? My favorite wrestler in the world still is Tomohiro Ishii, and that's just because he throws a chop that's, real violent sounding. I guess that's like...
You haven't seen much of Walter, have you?
Walter? No.
I think you probably like
literally nothing at all. I haven't seen a single match of his.
Wow. Yeah, I think you'd like Walter a lot. Did you not watch the Thatcher match from last year? It was hyped all year.
No. I've watched one of his squash matches when he joined NXT UK, and I went, okay, and then kept going.
Okay. I need to get you like a list. You need to see the Ilya Dragunov matches from 2017, where he's the crazy Soviet character from WXW, who you probably have seen pictures of his chest looking deranged from those Walter matches.
I don't know if I have. I'm sure I have. I just probably haven't known who it is.
I'll find the picture.
Oh, jeez.
It shouldn't be too hard. There are many of them.
There are many, are there?
Here you go. This one's a little bit more... There you go. It's in general. It's loading in general chat.
Oh.
There you go.
Oh, jeez. Oh, man. Oh. Yeah, that's...
For anybody who wants to see the picture, you can just Google search Ilya Dragunov, which is ILJA, and then take your best guess at Dragunov. It's probably right. And then just type in chest, and you'll find a lot of pictures of the aftermath of his match with Walter, which is quite interesting. Big Van Walter, or Big Daddy Walter, has been a guy who's been on the independent scene for a very long time, but I never paid much attention to until he kind of blew up in 2017. Because I didn't hear much about him, but he's been really good in the last few years. I mean, I'm interested to see what he's doing in NXT. He's not left WXW. Yeah, do you know about this? Do you know about Walter's contract arrangements?
Is it similar to everybody else's weird contract arrangements?
No, this is very unique, I think.
Oh.
He's basically not in NXT. He still works for all of the European promotions. He always has done. And he's the head coach at one promotion's dojo. Still, even after joining NXT, so like he's basically not in NXT, but I guess he kind of is.
Yeah, that's certainly different to everybody else's, because everybody else has the thing where it's like, as long as you're whatever it is, as long as the company is a like WWE affiliate or something like that, you can just go and work for them. But I don't know.
That's in UK, I presume, rather than
yeah, that's in the UK one. The American version is like total lockdown, aside from Evolve. Fabian Eichner.
Yeah, but that's the thing. For a while they were doing the Evolve stuff, but they were only working the non-televised stuff. But now apparently they're champions and stuff. What the hell's going on? You know more about that than me.
Yeah, so I've been looking in and out of Evolve for a while, just because I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Like completely. So they brought Fabian Eichner in, and I don't know if you know who Fabian Eichner is.
Yeah.
He's
okay. He's like, pretty good. He's all right.
Yeah, he's definitely all right. I think out of him and what's his name in the Fed? Marcel Barthel or something like that.
Isn't that Axel Dieter Jr.?
Yeah, that's Dieter. He's obviously the less skilled of the two, at least I think so. But he was the Evolve champion for like 5 months, or maybe it was only 4. Nope, it was 2. I'm overthinking things. I'm like, how long? The
era of Eichner is fresh in your mind. Maybe it was 6 years. Oh no, 2 months.
It was such a lasting reign, actually. Mostly just because, it was the confusion of, wait, why is this happening? He had the belt just for like 2 months and then lost it to Austin Theory.
Austin Theory's definitely been pushed in WWN for quite a while.
Yeah, I know he's part of Evolve rather than the Fed.
No, I just mean that like Theory's been presented as a big deal for quite a while.
Oh yeah. I had definitely gotten the vibe that he was kind of the one guy who hadn't won the belt yet, out of everybody who had kind of been a sort of big deal in the WWN thus far. So he won it or whatever.
Was Eichner the Evolve champ, or was he the WWN champ?
He was the Evolve champ.
Okay.
So he was the Evolve champ, and then he lost it to Theory, and then Eichner just kind of like fucked off to NXT UK, I guess, and is now tagging with Dieter. And then the tag champs are still the Street Profits. So in one show, you had the Street Profits win the tag belts. No, it was back-to-back nights. The Street Profits won the tag belts one night, and then the next night, Eichner won the belt, won the Evolve belt. Uh-huh. And it's very confusing because I think it's I assume it's like an ECW type situation from like, my mind instantly jumps to Brackus, right? Like,
I have no idea.
Brackus was he's like this big German power lifter who had absolutely no talent, but Vince sent him to ECW so then Paul Heyman could get him over. Like, he told Paul, because like they were on the bankroll at this point, ECW was, and so Vince was like, get him over and I'll give you money. And Paul was like, alright. It didn't work. He didn't get over. Nobody liked him. Shocking. The ECW crowd didn't like a talentless, charismaticless, like 6'7" ripped German man who was like in his early 40s. And
I am
so
shocked
it's
at
very
the racism, because they liked so many talentless, non-charismatic Americans over that period.
Yeah, that's fair, actually, now I think about it. God.
Carry on, sorry.
They did like the pit bulls, didn't they? Ooh, pit bulls. I think it's kind of that situation where Vince just gives Gabe some random guys every once in a while. But like recently, though, they've been bigger deals. Like
surely it's not Vince, because I don't think Vince knows who Fabian Eichner and Street Profits are.
I don't think he cares who Fabian Eichner is. Hopefully, but it's been like they had Roddy Strong on there, and they've had like the most recently, I think they had Ricochet on there. They had Riddle go back once or twice. Gargano. So it's
some of those are big like ex-Evolve names, so some of those make more sense than others to me.
Yeah, but I just mean it's weird kind of the range that they're getting. Yeah. They're getting like guys who clearly kind of fit in with, I think, the people who would come and watch Evolve shows, especially kind of off of the back of the legacy that they kind of made before the big talent snatch. Well, I guess snatch it wasn't all in one go. And then you've got guys like Fabian Eichner and the Street Profits who don't really fit into that, and they're the ones who end up with the belts. So I assume it's something like, we have nothing for you, so go to Evolve for a bit and hang out with the belts. But
you don't really know the root cause of what's going on at the moment?
Not really. I don't know if anybody does. They might. I don't know.
I mean, Gabe does, probably. I mean, who knows, but probably.
I assume Gabe does. These people might just show up and be like, I'm here to win your belt. Gabe's like, well, all right, here you go.
Gabe's definitely had some ups and downs as over the years. He's a great booker at times, but at times I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, he does come from, I guess, House Heyman, I guess you'll call it.
Sure.
Where you look at some things and you're like, yeah, do you really have to go and crucify that guy on live TV? That's really weird. That's really weird, Paul.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing. So that was our introduction. We got off onto some rabbit holes there. But what we're actually here to talk about, in general, in the main, is the WWE show that happened on Sunday night, which I would say has received a generally positive reception. But what did you think about it?
Ups and downs. Most of the Fed shows, I think, in the past little bit have been ups and downs, a lot of them. There were a lot of things that I really liked. There were a lot of things that I really did not like, and a couple of things I didn't understand at all.
So I think the most interesting thing is the stuff you didn't understand. So let's start with that.
I guess I don't want to say the co-main event, the match just before the main event. Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair. I don't get the thought process in having this match only for, I mean, I do understand, I guess, the character motivation of Ronda Rousey coming out and, like, intentionally giving Becky Lynch the win. But, like, why?
After thinking about it for a little bit, I think I've come to two potential explanations that might both also be the case. And that is, one, they want to get Charlotte as over as possible and to make her look as strong as possible, because
that makes sense.
Charlotte and it's the WWE. And two, even though she's kind of leaning into I'm going to put air quotes here, heel role, I think Ronda doesn't actually want to be a heel. Because she hates that kind of role. She always has. And even though some of the stuff she's saying and doing now is definitely a heel in the context of the story, I think she thinks in real life she's still a babyface when you take all of that stuff away from it. You know what I mean? So go on.
No, I will definitely say I definitely do get the vibe that Ronda really does not like being booed or whatever. Because her reactions to it, right? Like it genuinely offends her when people do not like. Because a couple of Raws or whatever should be like, oh, these idiots that are booing me, and it's not like an attempt to get heat. It's like her actually just attempting to like defend herself somehow.
She doesn't deal with it very well. In almost every sport, when her base is kind of turned on her, she just goes to a new sport.
She just kind of turtles.
Yeah, which is a shame, because I think in the context of pro wrestling, if she could embrace the heat, then she's a natural heel.
Oh, she is. She's very unlikable sometimes.
Oh yeah, definitely. She's a naturally unlikable person.
Very much so.
She could definitely lean into that. But it's unfortunate because now she's doing a bit of it because she knows she's gone in 4 weeks, and she gets the turtle again, perhaps for the last time.
Yeah. But I mean, how does that come about though? Does she go to the writers or Vince? I don't know who the hell is running, who has the most say at this point in the company.
Oh, it's got to be always Vince, surely.
That's what everybody says, but I don't know. I don't know anymore at this point. Just looking at the company and just the weird things it does. I wonder if Vince does some things and a creative team does other things, which would make sense. Why the show feels so weird and disconnected sometimes. But how does that even come about? Does she ask if she can interfere?
I would be surprised if she didn't have a lot of control over what she's doing, for sure.
Yeah, that would make sense, but it's just such a weird thing, you know what I mean? To book that match, to have all that hype going into that, to play up an injury angle for Becky to overcome, just for her to not really overcome it at all. Matter of fact, get like kind of beaten down for most of the match, only for Ronda to come out and attack her.
Yeah, and I'll
when
say
she
this,
finally...
the opening heat segment, if it was the first chapter of a match, was pretty good, actually, I thought. I thought if it was the opening section to a match, that would have been great. And I was getting ready for a really cool match where Becky, who is notedly a good psychology wrestler, and Charlotte, who was playing her role very well, put on this like very good match where Becky comes back and wins clean. But then, I guess I thought going into it, I should mention about I'll mention something else about Fastlane when we get into it a bit later. But I thought going into the match, maybe they would have gone with Becky replaces her in the match. And then I learned the actual stipulation, which is no, she just gets added to it. So then I realized it wasn't quite going to be that way, because they want to keep Charlotte the stronger person in the trio, I think, going into Mania.
I think actually building up to this match, actually, I don't think they knew either, because I'm pretty sure when Stephanie first announced it on TV, she said, Becky, if you beat Charlotte, you can be added to the triple threat. But then later on, when Vince talked about it, he said, Becky will replace you, Charlotte, if you lose. But then the commentators didn't really know what was going on. They kept going back and forth. I didn't know the exact stipulation until they said it in the promo package just before the match, when they confirmed she will be added to the triple threat. It seems the whole kind of storyline here is really like muddled, whatever you want to say. Things change week to week, seemingly, especially now with Ronda like turning heel so suddenly.
I don't know about that. I think as stupid as the story seems, and I agree that it's stupid, I do think it seems like it's been planned this way the entire time to me.
At least it's consistently stupid then.
It's not even consistent. These are the types of things that WWE have done for a long time. The story is that Becky gets screwed over and gets back into the. It's a weird version of the Daniel Bryan storyline from 2014.
It's like this weird version of Daniel Bryan where they were kind of inept and kind of don't really know how to handle somebody that hot, and they had her like.
Well, they didn't know with Bryan either. They could have.
Well, no, they wouldn't have even done anything with Bryan. Like.
Well, the thing with even when they did things, it was a bit like, obviously, I'm Mr. Hates triple threats over here, so I'm gonna say for like the bajillionth time since then that it should have been Brian Orton, always.
Oh, it should have been. I mean,
or Brian Batista. Brian Batista would probably been better, but
it would have been. Yeah, I think Orton at that point was still very much, I am a heel, I headlock, and it was, oh no. I think
the Orton-Bryan matches from 2013 were really good, though. On Raw, they had a series in the summer, and they were really good. But Batista at the time was on just like that turned into Batista's best run for me. I think that
the nuclear heat he had on him.
Batista, yeah.
The nuclear heat they put on Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, poor Rey Mysterio. We'll talk about him later.
Crying somewhere.
It took him 5 years to recover from that.
Truly atrocious.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, so you've brought us into like the first main Mania topic, which is Becky, because they're gonna go on second to last. Before whatever Reigns does, obviously.
Yep.
So I think no, they're probably going on last. You would think. You would hope.
You would hope.
So, I still think this is a big opportunity for the WWE. I still think that Becky is on fire and being presented as in a way, even if it's very stunted at the moment since January. But last year, especially towards the end in January, she's been presented in a way that's a big deal, and she's still being presented in a way that's a big deal. She's the main talking point in all the shows, even if the presentation is WWE. She is still being presented as a big deal. She's being booked as badly as the men at that level. She's being So,
I think.
Go on.
Sorry to cut you off, but I think that even something that I don't think a lot of people pick up on is that even when they write her off on TV for certain things or whatever, like when they had her suspended or whatever, she was still like talked about. Whatever the one line is or whatever about, everybody should be thinking, oh, well, what's Becky Lynch up to? I think that's what a lot of people think when any women's segment, they chant for her whenever anything remotely involving a women's segment comes on.
When Poochie's not on screen, everyone should be asking, "Where's Poochie?"
There it is.
Yeah. I'm just full of Simpsons references today.
Yeah, I knew that quote was from somewhere. I didn't know what it was. God, I should watch The Simpsons. I like The Simpsons. But yeah, I think they've done a pretty solid job, I guess, and even when she's not on screen all the time, at making her relevant. Or maybe she's just so hot that she's relevant no matter what they do.
Well, that's definitely the case. But they are leaning into it. Nothing here is accidental at all, for sure. I mean, they've been positioning her in a prominent way since at least January, when I saw it on SmackDown. And then the Rumble thing was, I mean, just like last year with Shinsuke, you could see with that they were positioning her specifically to be a big deal. Now, obviously, what happened to both Shinsuke and Asuka after January last year doesn't give me much hope. but the Shinsuke fucking Rumble win last year was one of the most hard pushes I've seen in a while. I have no idea why it just went off the rails afterwards.
It was very magical. I think the Asuka thing, was more magical, for me, just because I really was concerned that they'd fuck her up and make her lose to somebody who, didn't need it, or was already going to be the most, probably the second most popular woman, maybe the most popular, unless something, unforeseen happens, like a heel turn that somehow turns somebody really face somehow. But,
So it was clear for the Rumble that story is just a traditional top guy trope that WWE rolled out. So clearly Becky is being positioned in a big way. But I really am concerned. And look, Charlotte being added to the triple threat, I can't get over it because I'm Mr. Hates triple threats. And the match would be just so much better without it. But even so, you can't deny she's been pushed like crazy. She's got 9 title reigns in 4 years.
Yeah.
And she is a big deal, and she's gotten a lot better. And she's better as a heel than a face by miles.
Oh, definitely.
So,
yep.
It's not that big of a deal. And Becky's going over, right? Almost 90% chance it's happening. Almost. I mean, WWE have pulled up some pretty out of left field booking decisions over the last 2 years. And this one wouldn't be the biggest. I'm going to put that out there.
No.
Reigns losing all those times against Lesnar. Fucking the Shinsuke and Asuka both losing at Mania last year.
Both, yeah. Ooh.
That was kind of what. And, there's a bunch of other stuff that goes on. But you would assume Becky wins. If she does, and she's pinning... Who does she pin? That's a good question. Or submit. Who does she beat out of those two?
Well, it's funny because I thought about this the other day. They brought in Charlotte, I think, to take the fall for Ronda, but now that Ronda's leaving, she's there to take the fall for Charlotte, who's not even supposed to be in the match to begin with. Why is this a triple threat now?
And Charlotte, even in that first instance, I don't think Charlotte's ever in a match to take the fall for WWE.
No.
So maybe that. No. Now that we've talked through this, Becky's losing, isn't she?
She is. So no.
No, but if Becky wins, who is taking the fall? Is it Ronda? It probably is Ronda. I think
it has to be her, right? She's the one who's leaving.
She seems like the type who'd be happy to take the fall if she's leaving.
If only she gets to raise Becky's hand at the end.
Oh yeah, and then hug
I'm a good guy.
Yeah. That's actually that's a good prediction. We'll do it. Yeah. We'll do some shows around Mania, but that's definitely a good prediction. So, but yeah, okay. Let's say Becky taps Ronda out, wins the title,
right?
Gets her hand risen. It is in front of the biggest audience WWE garners in a year. Mainstream audience is tuning in, everything like that. How made is Becky? if it's the main,
enough.
if she taps Ronda Rousey in front of a mainstream crowd after a good match where Charlotte dominates 90% of it because Becky's injured.
Yeah.
How made is Becky and Charlotte, actually? Because they're probably going to put Charlotte over huge in that match, even if she loses.
Oh, yeah, they will. She'll do 90% of the work, and then it'll basically, I assume, be exactly what the Bryan Batista Orton triple threat will be. They'll double team her early, take Becky out. The two of them will face off. Charlotte will beat the shit out of Ronda just for Becky to like throw Charlotte out of the ring, lock in the armbar, and make Ronda tap, I assume.
Is Vince going to be there to take to take some bumps?
He'll be there. He'll go, oh!
Like the Triple H role. Is Vince and Linda going to be?
He's got to be out there to bump for Roman earlier, right? You can't use him twice.
No, Roman's after. Remember?
Oh yeah, you're right. My bad. So he's got to save himself.
It's Roman fucking Baron Corbin in the Mania main event.
That's definitely what it's like. That's definitely Roman's match here. Yeah,
it's Lashley. It's Lashley. Oh no, it's McIntyre. It's McIntyre.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. McIntyre makes way more sense. I got really scared there because I was like, isn't Lashley with like? Didn't he just beat Finn on Monday for the IC belt? Because nobody knows. Nobody knows.
I thought Leo Rush was the Intercontinental Champion, but hey, I'm out of the loop.
He was for like a minute.
I think he was in. Anyway, regardless. So yeah, what do you think Becky can be that neck? What level is Becky on if all of those events transpire as they're probably going to?
She'll be big, but I don't know if she's big enough to save. The ratings, right?
Yeah, but they're fine though because
I know they don't mean anything.
Yeah, they're making more television money than ever by miles now because the Fox deal just kicked in. Whatever.
It's maybe I'm just really sexist, but I can't see it being that crazy.
I think it's gotta be. Is it bigger than Punk and Bryan?
Is it bigger than Punk and Bryan? You mean Punk or Bryan? As in, like, both of their individual kind of...
Yeah, not together.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm like, were they... I guess they were champs around the same time.
So they're respective peaks, so Punk in 12, Bryan in 14.
That's tough to say, because I don't think we ever saw fully what Bryan in 14 could have done. He got hurt, like, 1 month after, right?
Yep. But the January to April stuff did numbers, like big blockbuster numbers.
Yeah, it's weird because I don't know. That's the tough part, I think. I don't know because Punk single-handedly kind of brought a ton of people back. A lot of people, yeah. That were really jaded, like really badly jaded, like kind of the stuff you're seeing now with people leaving, not watching.
Well, there's more people watching across the various things than in a while. The brand is clearly growing to certain audiences, but it's definitely a niche market. That's what I think some people don't get sometimes with wrestling. They're always like, oh, it's, you got to appeal to the casual fans. Casual fans don't watch pro wrestling. It's a niche. It's a niche market.
There's no such thing as a casual pro wrestling fan.
Yeah, like when your shows are 3 hours long, if you sit through a 3 hour song, you're not a casual pro wrestling fan.
No, not at all. I don't think you can be. It's tough to say because I want to have hope that Becky can be something as big, but the only problem is, and I'm gonna say this as a problem. I think Charlotte. I think they are really all in on Charlotte, like really all in on her. Like, I would be tempted to say that if Becky wins at Mania, I wouldn't be shocked if she dropped the belt to Charlotte at SummerSlam.
I mean, that's a long reign in WWE terms, to be fair.
It is, but I mean, like, she loses that belt and just falls right back down the hill. Like, just, nope, you're done now. Thanks for your one run. Even if she
wins at Mania?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, I don't know. I think I don't see that.
I think they've shown enough kind of I don't know what to call it. I don't want to say.
When was the last time somebody won the main event of WrestleMania and dropped back down into the mid card? Because we had Reigns for the last 4 years.
You could argue that they tried to push Daniel Bryan back down to the mid card when he came back in 2015.
You could.
They gave him the IC belt, and they didn't touch him anywhere near the main event. Well, even then, I don't think he was supposed to be near the main event stuff now. It's just the heel turn got him... Well, no, he did heel turn winning the belt.
Yeah, I think for both... And with the IC stuff, I think I just look at that the same way I look at Reigns winning the US title. It's just, you can only get 16 title reigns if you lose the belt 15 times, You've got to be away from the picture to actually come back.
That's interesting, because I didn't see it as that, even at the time. I remember distinctly at the time remembering, they're not going to even put him near that belt anymore. He's kind of done being there.
The IC title was quite a big deal at the time. Not a huge deal, but it was quite a big deal.
I remember the great reigns of Zack Ryder.
Look, people like him.
People liked him when they remembered who he was.
Indeed. But no, I think... it's the same thing that happened now with Bryan, right? He came back, and he feuded with Big Cass for a little while, and then he eventually... and then eventually managed to find a slot for him in the main title picture. I think Bryan's good enough that you can just, ace him. But they clearly wanted to build it up slowly, because it happened with Cena the first time, where they gave him the US title for a year, and then he won the Rumble a year afterwards. That was the 2004 run, so it was a long time ago now. But they don't necessarily. Obviously, if you are Cena level, you come back in 2008, you're right back in there. But
yeah.
But they never saw Bryan as Cena level. I don't even think they see Reigns as Cena level. Even though Reigns
I don't think they do either.
Protected, Reigns is, you can tell that Reigns is a protected guy.
Oh yeah,
but he's not. I don't think they protect him as much as Cena.
The stuff that they did, and you mentioned even the stuff with him losing 4 matches in a row to Lesnar. I think that
one was weird. Still very weird to me.
This is.
Tucker is. I'm gonna move him down to the waiting room real quick because he might not. Okay. Hello. No, it's not. So I'll tell you what. Any better? Oh, I think it might be me.
I'm there. I'm there.
Hello. Yeah,
okay.
I can hear you fine.
Weird.
You were talking about Reigns losing 4 times to Brock.
Yeah. I forget what I even said about that. They kind of just jobbed when he lost to Brock those consecutive times. I just remember them every single time before, I think after the first one when he lost. They were just this is Roman Reigns' last chance to get this done. And then he just kept getting more matches somehow. And then there was the weird one that was in Saudi Arabia or whatever, where people think he wasn't supposed to lose. And the ref messed up somehow or something.
No, I mean, that all sounds plausible, but I think it was all just Vince just backing down weirdly, and I don't know.
Well, he's backed down a lot with Reigns. I think
kind of.
You've talked about this all the time.
Yeah, it's less. He gets to the final hurdle and he always just backs down, but he never gives up. Following in the footsteps of his.
He'll get back to that hurdle
of his hero, of his idol, John Cena, that he's looked up to since he was a kid. Just like R-Truth.
Just like R-Truth. Favorite line of Fastlane or whatever was, just like his hero, R-Truth. And then I think it was Corey Graves who pointed out, R-Truth is 7 years older than John Cena.
Yeah, something like that. Which is great. I went back and watched those SmackDown episodes, and I am surprised how entertaining R-Truth is in 2019.
He's really remarkably good. I just think from an entertainment standpoint, I think as a wrestler, Fountain of Youth, R-Truth still holds up.
And Carmella is adding to a lot of acts right now. You can't put it past her.
They work really well together somehow. They're mostly like, I think they're just meant to be really cringe.
Yeah,
but like they work. They're both really cringe. Like
it's weird because if you you can look at like a lot of acts over the last 4 years. They're like, or maybe even longer. Yeah, probably like 5-6 years. That are like, oh, these acts just about work. And there's a common link there, and it's Carmella. It's like, oh, maybe Enzo and Cass weren't that great. Maybe James Ellsworth is terrible. Who knows?
Yeah, she has somehow survived through, I think, a lot of really, really, I don't want to say garbage, because I think some of the things she's been involved with had some potential. Like, I think, while they weren't great wrestlers, I think Enzo and Cass had something to them.
Oh, yeah. It was called The Revival.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. No, go on. They were alright. They were fine. I think they had a match with the Vaudevillains or something that was decent.
Yes. Which, the Vaudevillains, were they good? I don't know.
Oh, no.
People have fond memories of them, though, apparently. Like, really fond memories.
I think they might have feuded with Alexa Bliss at some point. Which, bolsters everybody.
I'll say this. I marked out harder for the Vaudevillains when they won the tag belts than I did when... who was it who won the tag belts after them? Was that DIY right after them? I don't remember.
Well, I think the Revival won them off of...
Yeah, and then DIY
beat the
Revival. Right?
Alpha beat Revival and
Alpha,
then,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I marked out more for the Vaudevillain Alpha winning.
Oh, I thought the Alpha title win was good.
Oh yeah, I remember it being a lot better, but I remember, like, even when Alpha won that match, I remember sitting there going, this felt better when the Vaudevillains won. And I was like, what's wrong with me?
You're a broken man.
I am a broken man.
So you think, yeah, so aside from, I'm going to dispute the Bryan one. Aside from him, any others?
In terms of people who
won the main event,
Mania.
Won the main event, not just, I guess Miz.
Bam Bam Bigelow.
I guess Miz.
Yeah, Miz.
But he didn't win it clean, and we're assuming Becky's gonna win clean.
Yeah. Who else is kind of?
I'm gonna go look at the Mania main events now, so we can do this a little bit more scientifically.
I don't think anybody.
Obviously, we've had a lot of kind of not celebrity, but kind of part-timer main events over the last few years. So
with Bam Bam Bigelow.
So Brock won. So Reigns won against Taker, right? Did Reigns beat Triple H in 32?
Yes.
Okay, and then Seth, I wouldn't say has ever been pushed back down to the mid card. Not really.
No,
it's been a pretty big deal.
I think he always felt above the mid card belts. Even like just last year, or whatever, when he had the IC belt for most of the year, I think he felt above that.
Orton's always been a big deal, even if he has.
Yeah, he's always away from belts now, but I think that's just because, I mean, he should be away from belts by now. But
Benoit kind of got pushed towards the mid card. He went to ECW at the end, for God's sake.
Well, but that's because, if you believe what like the Fed says in all their documentaries or whatever, Benoit like didn't draw at all. Which,
yeah, but neither did Brock Lesnar. Doesn't stop them from pushing him.
Yeah,
or Triple H, or Orton.
Yeah. There's a lot of fun decisions in there.
Who won the X8? Was it Jericho or was it Triple H?
X8.
It was Triple H. Okay, never mind. If it was Jericho, I would have argued that Jericho was pretty much in the mid card for most of the late 2000s, but it wasn't.
Well, he literally was, yeah.
I'm looking back, and we're literally going into the 90s before we find people that won the main event of Mania.
As I said, Bam Bam Bigelow.
Which Mania even is that? Oh, I see it. There it is.
13? 12?
11.
Oh, geez, 13. What's 13? 13 is Bret Austin. The hell's wrong with me?
Well, the main event is Take or Sit.
Oh. Oh, that's awkward.
That was Taker's like only Mania main event for a long time till he got that like streak of the Michaels matches and the Edge stuff.
I'm so sorry, Taker.
Also, Bam Bam Bigelow lost that match, Tucker.
No! Damn you, Bam Bam! I think he's dead now, actually.
Although I don't think you could argue that Lawrence Taylor got a main event push after.
That's true. Where did he go? He was out of the company.
Right. Well, anyway. So yeah, here's the thing. So here's my response to your original point now that we've scienced it. I think you're wrong. That if Becky wins the main event clean, she's not going to just go away. But I think you could be right if Charlotte wins the main event at Mania, because that's still completely possible.
Yeah.
Or Steph. I mean, we're 4 weeks out. Who knows what could happen? Fatal 4-ways aren't impossible.
Steph's just like, I'm in it now.
I invented women's wrestling. I should be in this.
The creation of women, whatever that old meme is with like Stephanie's head on like God's head or whatever.
So yeah, we had that was the most important topic, being branched off of your confusion is the Becky stuff. We'll probably we'll probably do another show around Mania where we talk.
Well, there's one more confusion piece of the show.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. What's up with Kofi Kingston?
I'm glad. Here's another point that I had pre-prepared. So Kofi Kingston is what it looks like if they had actually intended to do the Bryan thing in 2014. Like, sometimes people still to this day argue that all the Bryan stuff in 2014 was always planned. Now, if it was always planned, this is what it would look like, the Kofi stuff.
Yeah. I for the longest time thought it was planned until, like, was it 2016 when they released some documentary where they were just full on like, yeah, no, we never intended any of this. They just kind of got really popular and we realized if we don't do this. Yeah. The moment that came out and like they were specifically like, he will fight Sheamus, I went, oh my God, he actually was going to fight Sheamus. If they had said any other name, I'd have been like, yeah, I doubt that. Like if they were like, no, he was going to go on to fight like, I don't know, who was around in like 2014. And he's going to fight like Rey Mysterio or something. Yeah, I would have been like, nah. The second they said Sheamus, I'm like, oh no. Oh God, that was, we really got lucky with that one, didn't we?
Well, yeah, WrestleMania 30 still holds up as one of the better ones, thankfully, that ended up getting saved.
Thankfully.
But yeah, the Kofi thing, and I think it's good for the most part. I mean, there's some clumsy stuff in there because it's the WWE, but I think the Kofi stuff was one of the better things of the night. Now, look, there are some problems. I'm a guy, if you don't know me, I like wrestling. I like matches. I like the Graps. I prefer that over the talky stuff. Personally, that's why I watch wrestling. I don't know about you, Tucker, but I watch wrestling for the wrestling that's around the talky stuff. If I just wanted the talky stuff, I'd go watch EastEnders. But I do like watching two men in underwear or women in underwear have a grapple every now and then. And unfortunately, the problem with this story, I think it's good. It plays its part. Is you're sacrificing a lot of good matches to get to it, because on Sunday night, the story was told perfectly fine. It got exactly the heat they wanted to, but it definitely had a big hit on that WWE title match, and it was always going to.
Yeah. I think just the main thing that I think most people are confused by actually was the segment itself, because I don't know, I haven't seen the segment. I actually I had stepped out for however long. I didn't think it was that long, but I had come back and apparently I had entirely missed this entire stretch of Kofi Kingston stuff. Apparently like Vince messed up during the promo or something like that, and like, or maybe it was intentional, and like he said there was like a triple threat up next, and if you go out there you can be the champion or something. But then people, like, then the bar came out, and people were like, what is going on right now? I don't know, even.
He said the WWE title match is going to be a triple threat, and you have a triple threat up next. And he did. It was just a 2-on-1 handicap match.
It's not a triple threat, though.
I mean, he could be.
You lying bastard.
There's 3 people involved.
I'm on Cage Match right now. This says 2-on-1 handicap.
How many people are involved, Tucker?
1, 2, 3. I count 3.
Nice. And how many people are involved in the WWE title triple threat?
Well, 4 if you count Rowan. So
that's fair. I will say there is one other related point to this that affected my enjoyment of this show. I went into this show looking at Cage Match for the card, because I often do that when I haven't kept up with the product. I look at the I logged on to Cage Match, and it's a little bit out of date. So what it said to me for the show's card was Rey Mysterio versus Andrade Cien Almas and Daniel Bryan versus Kevin Owens. And I was like, oh, well, this looks like a good card. Neither of those matches happened.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with Rey Andrade.
I know what happened.
From what I knew, that was happening up until all of a sudden they were, for some reason, in a fatal 4-way for the US belt.
It was because Zelina Vega and Carmella got in a fight backstage or something. And apparently,
how did that
Rey,
put Rey in the back? Because
Rey just goes where Almas goes this year, and I'm okay with it.
It is the law.
Did you see the triple threat for the US title a few weeks ago? Almas comes out to answer the open challenge, and Rey just runs past him and goes into the ring. It's amazing.
God damn it.
And I'm fine with it, but I do wish.
Those two.
Yeah.
Andrade and Rey together are something special.
For sure, definitely. And again, I have an inkling that you could find someone else that's not Andrade to put in there, but
probably.
But so far they haven't found him, so I'm happy for Almas to fill that spot for now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't deny that. But yeah, back to the Kofi stuff. Look, confusion aside, because the McMahons being on TV, I think, is universally criticized as being a bad thing, but it's never going away. Aside from that, there's again, this could all be fucked up. But if Kofi goes on and wins at Mania, it's a pretty big story.
Oh yeah, no, if Kofi goes on to win at Mania, then this all adds up. But maybe I'm really cynical, but I don't see the Fed doing that. I just don't see them.
Well, I think you've also got to take into account the Daniel Bryan effect, which is that Bryan's that weird under Cena level of top guy where they clearly think he's really good, but they don't protect him at all. Like Cena Reigns, they've never turned properly heel. The fact that Bryan has turned full heel means that they clearly don't hold him in that level. And I think same at Mania. I think Bryan would be fine with doing the job there as well. So I
don't have any questions about that type of thing. I don't even trust them to put Kofi in that match.
Oh, I think, again, we got to look at tropes for WWE at this point. Just like last year at the Rumble where you didn't think Shinsuke was winning, or this year at the Rumble you didn't think Becky was winning. You just got to look at WWE tropes.
I just don't trust them to do anything that would make some sense. If something makes sense, I expect them to do the exact opposite of it. Maybe it's just to Well,
Kofi's gonna win the Andre. That's gonna be his big redeeming moment.
Yes, that would be it.
While Randy Orton and Daniel Bryan fight at Mania.
Oh no, don't say that. They'll do it.
A Randy Orton, AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan triple threat.
Oh.
Where the winner gets to decide whether the Earth is flat or not.
Whether the Earth is flat, round, or dead. Whichever one you want.
Flat, round, or full of snakes.
Yeah, I don't really know what Orton's probably a flat earther.
Oh, for sure. His Twitter goes off the handle pretty regularly.
Well, yeah.
He's a tweet, delete kind of guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
My man. So, yeah, I guess if you have anything else to say about the Kofi stuff, that aside, I thought it was a pretty good chapter of the story this time around.
Yeah. The only reason I was saying I was confused by it, I will just say, was because I don't expect them to do it with Kofi. I don't expect them to put him in the title match at Mania. So I don't know where they're going with this, if not there. So that's why
I would be shocked. I mean, again, it's one of those things where WWE sometimes they just make their intentions very clear with what they do, and I just think this is very clearly heading there. If it's not, then it's not. And of course, I never put anything past them, of course. But
yeah,
they when they go this. Oh god, getting a bunch of notifications that will come up on the podcast. My apologies. When they go this tropey with the story, and they go like, this was obviously like, this wasn't a little thing, like, oh my god, he's getting buried, right? This was very blatant. This was very intentional, and I just, they've clearly got something, and I'm pretty sure it's a title match.
You'd hope.
Aside from that, I will say, when you can hand-pick the Rey Mysterio from 2014, Mustafa Ali, maybe not the best choice. Just gonna put that out there.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that to him. I mean, the match itself, I think, turned out pretty solid.
It was really good, yeah. If you take out the whole the crowd didn't care for the first half of it because of the Kofi story, if you take that out, it's a really, really good match.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why they do that either. The only thing I could think of is that, and this is the thing that I also didn't get the entire time, handpicked by the owner of the company who is bad guy. Kevin Owens is not a bad guy, apparently. He's a face. So
I kind of like that, though. It's kind of funny to me, seeing how Kevin reacts to all this. He's like, well, guess I'm in the title match. I like it. I think Kevin's playing it really well.
I'm sure he is. It's just somebody who hasn't watched the TVs for the past month or so. I stopped kind of watching TVs regularly mid-February. I was just like, okay, Owens is back. It's heel versus heel. That's weird. And so when they put Ali in, I was like, oh, well, this is obviously to give the fans somebody to cheer for. And then I learned about the thing with Kofi, as you just said, and I'm like, wait, wouldn't Ali's spot have been better to go to Kevin Owens, who's a heel? And I'm like, wait, no, they're both faces.
Yeah, well, the thing with Owens, I think, is you don't even need to watch. I don't watch the recent TV either. I'm just going on his old character, which is basically just prize fighter. Doesn't really care. He's just gonna keep fighting for money for his family and shit.
I am just here to
win matches,
fight people, and win belts.
Yeah, and yeah, that's about it. I am from Canada. Cheer me.
I am from Canada. The mean streets of Montreal.
The mean streets of Montreal. And then for Ali, it makes sense why he's in the match, but because he got injured before Elimination Chamber and replaced by Kofi.
Yes. Yeah, that adds up.
Yeah. And the match was really good. So, happens. Okay, so those are the two things you were confused about. What didn't you like?
Things that I didn't like. I don't know if I didn't like it as much as it just kind of bored me. Asuka Mandy Rose was very... Yep. Okay.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That was there. Asuka apparently hasn't been on TV since the Rumble, which is...
That's what I had heard as well. They had done nothing to build this. It was just kind of, here's a match because...
Well, it's not only they have done nothing to build this, they've done nothing to build anything.
Yeah, what is she doing at Mania?
There's really thought it was Charlotte, but nope.
I assumed it would be Charlotte because, well, what else is Charlotte gonna do, right?
Right.
It made sense that Becky jumped brands because, well, she won the Rumble, right? She's allowed to. Why is Charlotte on Raw? Why in kayfabe is Charlotte on Raw?
She clearly went through one of the tag team title loopholes.
The tag team title.
Well, the tag team titles can be on both brands, so there's clearly some loopholes in there that have been created.
So she's on paper teaming with somebody.
No. The Horsewomen have registered as a stable. Therefore, technically,
she's part of the Boss and Hug connection? Is she?
Well, she's part of the Horsewomen as an overall organization that technically they can freebird the belts. So Charlotte and Becky can defend the belts if they want to, but you know.
Right, I hear you.
The dog's also hear me.
Yeah. You mind if you just give me 1 second here?
No, sure. Go ahead. I'll talk
something.
I'll talk about something else. I'll talk about. I don't know why Asuka's been off TV for God knows how long, which is really sad because I praised the booking. I don't think I did it live on the air. I don't think we did a podcast about it, but I praised the booking of the Rumble match between Becky and Asuka because I thought that was one of Asuka's best matches. I think it's currently one of my best matches of the year. Yeah, it's currently 5th on my match of the year list, which I haven't watched a lot of wrestling this year, so that's not actually that huge or anything. But it's up there with some of the best matches I've seen this year, and I thought it was a really good match, completely well booked, amazing. It kept Becky strong enough to kind of go forward from there, and it also put Asuka over huge. But then they just did nothing with her.
Yeah, that's the big problem with it. I think that they put. I think, especially with what you just talked about, them putting Asuka over Becky, and then them clearly wanting to put Becky at the top. I think what they did with Asuka kind of goes towards nothing. You know what I mean? They had a chance to make something really cool. Like you could do Asuka Charlotte would make sense. They've both beaten Becky before. They both have kind of fought around Becky. They were in that triple threat when Ronda interfered. And
they were also they fought last year at Mania, and Asuka lost that.
Oh yeah, of course. What the hell? What am I thinking? That's obviously probably the biggest plot point. A rematch for them. Yeah, and now, nope.
I just don't see who Asuka faces, and maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe they just pluck someone out of the crowd. But I don't know. I can't see that being engaging, and also I really worry it's not going to be on the main card, which.
Yeah,
it's a big deal.
I think it'll be pre-show, which hurts, especially when one women's belt could be main eventing and the other one could possibly not be on the card. I think that says more about.
Well, I think also one of the factors is that they have the tag belts now, and they're pushing those as quite a big deal.
Yeah, the tag belts are definitely really important to them.
Why don't you continue this topic real quick, and I'm going to head to the bathroom.
Yeah. But it's even just kind of like looking at the tag belts, at least my kind of thought with the tag belts is that nobody from SmackDown is even really being absorbed by the tag belts right now, right? Because they're working with Boston Hug Connection of Bayley and Sasha, Nia Jax and Tamina, the Samoan squad. I don't know what the hell you want to call them. Cousins of The Rock. And now they're bringing in like Beth Phoenix, I think, to do a weird nostalgia run for the Divas of Doom. And if you don't remember the Divas of Doom, that's Beth Phoenix and Natalya, and they only existed for like 6 months or so, I want to say. And they kind of just existed to just be beaten by Kelly Kelly, I think.
What about Kelly Kelly now? How did Kelly come up?
So I talked about the women's tag belts, and I said that nobody from SmackDown is really being absorbed by the women's tag belts right now. So the fact that they haven't made anybody, I don't think, is necessarily because of the women's tag belts. And then I started talking about who is involved currently in the women's tag belts, right? Which is Bayley and Sasha, Nia Jax and Tamina, and now the Divas of Doom, which really only existed for about 6 months to be beaten by Kelly Kelly, and then quickly kind of went their separate ways.
Didn't they also feud with Laycool, or am I remembering incorrectly?
No, they feuded with Eve Torres, I think, for a little bit afterwards, and then that kind of split them.
I was just thinking, I don't know if this makes it more or less likely to be bumped to the pre-show, but I think we're probably getting a match with that angle, with the Beth Phoenix, Nia Jax stuff at Mania.
I assume so. Yeah, they push really hard for that.
Which could mean that we get just 5 women's matches on the card, which would be great. Or it could mean
that'd be real fun.
That it replaces the SmackDown Women's title when it goes to the pre-show or something. Someone in the chat mentioned Shayna versus Asuka. I love it. I don't think it's happening.
I'd love it, but yeah, no, I agree with that. I don't think it's happening. The only person that I could see them doing anything with, and they could do it, they could do Ember if they're just having people swap brands randomly. She's on Raw. She's supposed to be. She was friends with Natalya before Ronda Rousey came over, and Natalya was like, wait, no, that's my friend now. Or no, Ember was friends with Nia, and then Nia turned on her, and Ember literally sold like death, and has not shown up ever again.
Maybe she's actually dead.
She actually got murdered. Like, oh my god.
Like Seth Rollins did by Orton a couple of years back. I remember I did a podcast, I think it was with Marshall at the time, where we had like a memorial for Seth. The week after that, because he had, like, it was one of the most awkwardly violent angles they've ever ran. It was so weird that Orton had just literally destroyed this heel champion for no reason for 20 minutes at the end of Raw.
Fun times. Oh, I remember 2015 where we just kept beating down the champion for some reason.
Yeah, do you remember when people realized Seth Rollins wasn't a very good Triple H lookalike?
Yeah.
I mean, not that Triple H was good to begin with. But
no, when people... Well, I mean, I don't think the booking helped that either, but I think either way...
Oh, dude, his matches were awful. I know he had to feud with Kane, but, like...
He did have to feud with Kane. And Sting. And, like, 55-year-old Sting. Oh, God, why did they do that to him? Was Big Show there for a bit?
Yeah.
And he had feud with Orton? Oh, God.
Do you remember when Orton had a Big Show match in 2013 for no apparent reason?
When they tried to take the big pop off of Bryan and put it onto Big Show by making him do the S chant, and it was like, wait, what?
Oh my god, what a shit show.
Whoa.
But yeah, no. So the women's thing, I don't know what's like. Do you have any prediction as to who Asuka faces at Mania and where it ends up on the card?
Do I have any prediction? No. I have the hope that maybe Ember, if they are just tossing people around, like, I'm thinking they literally sit down and they go, all right, Mania card, boys. And then they're like, wait, we didn't do anything with Asuka. And Vince is like, hey, can I just have, or not, I guess Vince, I guess it'd be, who the hell's writing SmackDown? Ryan Ward at this point.
Vince.
Just be like, hey, can I just get Ember Moon over here? Just for like a month or two. Just do this one thing. If it does happen, I assume that's how it'll happen. She'll just kind of start showing up over there.
She'll go through the tag team title loophole.
Yeah, I mean, it happened with Tamina when Tamina like literally died. She was teaming with Lana and then disappeared, and then all of a sudden showed back up with Nia Jax on Raw, and it was like, oh, okay. So I assume they could just do it again.
I'm thinking
if it isn't
the realms of possibility is
if it isn't.
Oh, go on. No, go on.
You go ahead.
No, go ahead. You hadn't finished.
If it isn't Ember, the only thing I could see them doing is a dreaded other triple threat where it's Asuka versus Mandy versus Sonya, just so then Mandy can full on turn on Sonya and go like complete heel, because they obviously want to build to that with the tension that they teased here after the match between her and Asuka.
Oh, that seems more likely than what I was going to say, actually, now that I think about it. I was going the same direction, but that does seem more likely. That maybe they go, it's within the realms of possibility that they just do Asuka Sonya, because Sonya's actually competent.
She is, yeah.
Like in kayfabe, obviously as a wrestler, I think she's quite good, but in kayfabe, she's relatively competent. And I don't quite understand. I've never really understood why that alliance is a thing, because it seems a little weird to me. But yeah, I don't know if Mandy is going to turn on her. I think I don't know if this. I mean, this is probably not true, but they've kind of turned a leaf in the WWE in some places with having tag teams not always have to break up. I know we're saying this literally when we're reviewing a show where a tag team broke up, and we'll get to that in a minute. But that was clearly a temporary thing. I feel like, especially in the women's division, like I don't see them breaking up the Iconics, and I don't. And in the men's division, obviously, New Day have been on for so long. One of the longest running like singles guys tag team in a while.
I think if they do go with Kofi in the Mania main event, one of his first feuds has to be Big E. like naturally.
I hope not.
Like, you know what'll happen, because Big E will beat up Xavier, poor little defenseless Xavier Woods, even though he's very competent half the time. But sometimes Bray Wyatt just shows up and he's like all scared or whatever that angle was. Did that happen in real life or in our brand split? I don't remember. Was that in the brand split?
I don't remember.
Oh,
that was your brand.
Okay. No, that was surely on yours.
I don't think I ever had the New Day.
Yeah, you did.
I don't think I ever had the full Wyatt family.
I don't think I ever had the New Day. Who had the New Day?
We definitely didn't draft Francisco. That was a big controversy.
Oh,
in
yeah.
the chat.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she, free agent. Could show up on any brand.
Well, someone tell us if the New Day, who had the New Day. I think it was you, but let's move on since we got to get to potential viewer questions as well. We haven't covered about half of this show. Anything else on the show that you disliked?
Anything else I thought was really bad? Well, again, I say bad as a relative term. It's just stuff I didn't care about. 6-man tag main, I didn't really care about. Just because.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I really liked it. I thought it was the best match of the night.
Wow, yeah. I'm not at all interested in Heat Incorporated, as I've come to know.
Neither am I, but I also wasn't interested in Kane and the New Age Outlaws, but they also had a decent match with the Shield, and the last half of this match was a Shield match, and I think Shield matches are pretty fun.
Yeah. I
thought it was emotional. I thought they sold the emotion quite well. I thought all three of the actual competent wrestlers in the ring did really well. And of course, by the three competent wrestlers, I mean Reigns, Ambrose, and Baron Corbin.
Yes.
Of course, Big Banter Baron.
Big Banter Baron.
Go on, no.
With this match, right? I thought, okay, I didn't think we were building here, but I had a thought after it. After the match, I sat there and I thought, wait, okay, I know it'll never happen, but in this show, doesn't it make the most sense for this match to end with, and you're going to instantly say no, because you know it'll never happen, with Roman turning on the both of them. No. He can fight Dean at Mania because Dean is leaving. Just go over Dean, and then you can have Rollins fight Reigns for the Universal Belt over the summer, or the spring, or whatever.
No, and I'll tell you why. It's a different response to what I think you're expecting. But I think this match should have existed in a vacuum. Now, you're right. Dean might not be leaving. In fact, I think it might be close to 50-50 at this stage. We'll talk about that in a second. But let's go on the assumption that he is. I do think that this match is going to have historical significance in the WWE. And I think it should have just been about that. And I think that carried a lot of weight with it. And yeah, it would have been a WWE Vince Russo shock jockey thing to turn that into an angle. But I just think it would have ruined what it was in a vacuum, which was just a really fun last time. Maybe do it on Raw.
They've done it for less. Roman literally announced he had leukemia, and Dean Ambrose was like, "You deserve it!" And it's like, what? Like,
sure.
So what do you think then? You think this is it for the Shield? Like, you think they won't try to do another
whether it is or not
run in 2 years?
Whether it is or not, it felt like that, and it added a lot to it.
Yeah, maybe I just assumed going into it that it clearly wasn't the last time, especially if Dean sticks around. The moment on screen that Michael Cole had this weird line when the Shield were coming out where they said, "Enjoy this, folks, because it's the last ride of the Shield, because they won't be teaming up anymore, because this is the last time you'll see all three of them in the ring together, because no longer will they be the Shield, because Dean Ambrose hasn't signed a contract." And it's like, wait, what? The moment...
Yeah, they said that a couple times across the night, and that's the warning sign for me too.
Yeah, the moment they mentioned it on screen, I'm like, this is a work. But why is it a work? There's nothing factoring into a storyline here of him leaving. You know what I mean? Like if he was to stick around, there's nothing here that, like, it's not like when Punk left, but then like his
we don't know that yet.
Maybe
Dean Ambrose gets into the title match. Maybe he's the one fighting Asuka. Maybe he'll take the women's title to the indie scene.
Oh my god, he is the SmackDown Women's Champion.
No, yeah, go on though. You had a good point.
There's nothing like in like a storyline when Punk was leaving in 2011, whether or not his deal was actually up or it wasn't, or it was and he had just signed an extension like a couple days prior, or whatever you want to think that they did, because I don't even know genuinely. There was a storyline about him leaving that I think, well, and also the position he was in, right? He was fighting for the WWE belt, but there was a reason for him to leave in kayfabe, and I think the moment that they give Dean a reason to leave in kayfabe, I'm sure he's staying. Like if they injure him or something like that, I'm sure he's staying. But if nothing happens, then I think this door stays open where it's very much like, wait, is he actually just gonna leave? Because he jobbed out to Drew McIntyre on TV in like 8 seconds. And that was weird. Because then the very next
out ever since the stories have been coming out about him leaving, even before they acknowledged them.
Yeah, which again is either a sign that he is leaving, or that, you know, Vince is the master swerve master and wants to swerve everyone when he just like, could you imagine if he just showed up on the Raw after Mania to like do a run in and they tried to sell that as like a big like, wait, he's supposed to be gone.
I thought his contract was up like mid that month, not actually like the day after Mania.
Oh, well, you know,
yeah,
that makes sense. But yeah, it's just weird that nothing's happened with it yet, because I assumed there would be some kind of match like, oh, you've got to like, you know, if you don't do this, we'll fire you, and then he can just show up on SmackDown or something like that. Which would make sense if they wanted to push the this is the last time the Shield will ever be a team thing. You could throw one of them on SmackDown and not touch them anymore. But the fact that none of that's really happened, I don't know, it confuses me, because I've waited for some kind of sign. This is the first time I have a sign where I'm like, oh, wait. And that's Michael Cole mentioning it, where I went. Because he mentioned it, like, even at the end. He was like, Dean Ambrose's future is uncertain. And I was like,
I don't think they actually used, to be fair, and it doesn't really matter what terminology he used, because your point is valid either way, but I think on all occasions he never was like, oh, it's in the balance. He said, yeah, he's announced he's fucking off. So I think that was, he's not going to re-sign his contract, is the line. I've seen
the ending of the show twice. One time on Monday, he 1,010% does say Dean Ambrose's future is uncertain.
Okay.
I know that for a fact.
Okay.
So
makes sense.
What are your thoughts on Heat Inc., as I call them? Because they just show up and they just beat down random people for like 15 minutes. I kind of love it.
Part of me really loves it.
I love Baron Corbin in the way that a lot of people love like Lex Luger, as in like he's so just awful sometimes that you can't not love him, right?
Yeah,
like,
he's also really harmless. Like, I never feel like Baron Corbin's ever going to main event WrestleMania, and that's okay.
So when Baron comes out, I get like butterflies in my stomach, because I know I'm about to watch something that's like really awfully great. Like, like I'm like, he's gonna like mess up in a promo, or he's gonna just like, I don't know.
Do you remember that year at Fastlane where they had a 6-man tag main event and it was the baby faces versus the heels from that year? Like, it was like Orton and Seth. Team Orton and Team Seth or something. It was like 2000... Oh. I think it was WrestleMania 31. I think it was 2015. 15? Okay.
Yeah, 15. Because it was building to... Because I think Seth had just come back at that point, right? Or no. No, Seth... Yes, so Seth was in the middle of getting near the world belt, because he was going to cash in at that Mania, right? It was like Seth, Big Show and like Kane, I think, against like Orton.
Here it is. It's from 2016. It's Big Show, Kane, and no, that's a different match. That's a Wyatt family match.
Oh.
Big Show, Kane, and Ryback versus the Wyatt family is certainly an interesting match.
Oh no!
Was it 2017? Where was someone might remember this? Does anybody remember the babyfaces versus the heels match from? It might not even be Fastlane. It might have been a different Over the Limit or something before Mania.
Over the Limit.
Do you remember that show? There was a show. It was a good. There was a good Sheamus. There was a good Sheamus Bryan match, I think, from Over the
2011.
Limit. Yeah, there you go.
Because they were cut from Mania that year.
I think there was also I think Punk had a good match at one of the Over the Limits.
That was Punk. Oh, Over the Limit 2011 was Punk. He was still a heel at that point. He hadn't done the face turn yet.
Oh, here it is. I found it. You're right. It was from 2015. It was Big Show, Kane, and Seth Rollins with Jamie Noble and Joey Mercury.
Versus, right, heel nation.
Yeah. Versus Dolph Ziggler, Eric Rowan, and Ryback.
State of 2015.
Because Eric Rowan was the Vinya.
I remember that he solved Rubik's cubes in his spare time or something.
He was just waiting for the planet's champion to come to power, and then he could respawn his true call.
Because he was like, because he had turned on like Luke Harper and was like the surprise fifth man at Survivor Series, and he got a big pop for some reason, and like,
yep.
And then he just lost a whole bunch. Just like, oh.
So yeah, that was certainly a thing. I thought the main event was fine. I definitely didn't think it was great, but I thought it was a fun Shield match. It's a match that will get Baron Corbin's points on my spreadsheet this year, and that just makes me happy. And so yeah, I just thought it was okay. I thought it was, in the hierarchy of Shield matches, it's not at the bottom, and Shield has a pretty good resume. So I thought it was quite a good match. So. Yeah, and also I liked the event of it and the everything surrounding it. I thought it was presented really well, and the night like I said, I've been kind of referencing this as we've been talking. I thought this was a really, really, really good show as a whole. I didn't think any of the matches were great, but I thought it was a good show in terms of the way it was kind of paced and presented. And so by the time I got to the main event, I was in quite a good mood. So I was quite partial to enjoying this one. All right, so anything else you disliked?
I mean, it's kind of an easy one to say I dislike, but I mean, it does have Nia Jax and Tamina in it.
I thought the match was all right, personally.
Yeah, no, it's definitely in like the meh camp. I don't think anything on this show was downright like awfully awful. Just quickly scanning it again, making sure nothing was downright awfully awful.
I had two matches in the 0 range.
I had two, but they were both kind of more the Angle matches. Not Kurt Angle. Oh God.
No, his match. I've only got one flat 0 this year so far. But I think if Kurt Angle wrestles at WrestleMania, there's going to be another one.
If you heard that he's wrestling at WrestleMania in his hometown, and it's like, wait, aren't you from Pittsburgh, mate?
Where is Mania this year?
New Jersey.
Oh, that seems different.
You even try. Yeah, Tamina and Nia Jax are really boring for me. I don't enjoy the attempt to get heat through her actually injuring someone. I don't think that... I don't know. I guess if it works, it works.
Who did she actually injure?
Becky or whatever, right? Because this is... Her entire push right now is feeding off of her injuring Becky before Survivor Series, right?
Oh, is that? I haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah, so that's why she's being pushed, because they call her like the face breaker or something like that off and on. Which, if you want to push somebody you hurt like somebody before like a really big match, you do you. Not in my book, but
your book. Oh yeah, we haven't talked about your book.
My book, yeah.
No, I thought they used this team very well in the Elimination Chamber. They used them just enough. I actually really liked the Elimination Chamber. that they had.
I thought they were shockingly good for what I expected in the Elimination Chamber. I expected...
It was a lot better than the men's tag team Elimination Chamber we had a few years ago.
I was expecting their role in the Royal Rumble, which was just Big Show and Kane from 2014, of just eliminate all the faces, and I was like, no. But no, they actually, I think, worked out pretty well. The one spot with Nia or whatever running through the pod, just doing the Goldberg spot, sticks out in my mind. Even though I think that people have found that like Bayley didn't even need to move or something like that. Nia just like ran past her.
That one hit me on the replays. I was like, Bayley, no. It was Bayley's fault.
Yeah, Bayley was like way out of position for it. Nia just had to like run. And,
he just scooted underneath her. It was weird.
Yeah,
but I just I tried to let that one slide. But yeah, this match was all right. I don't think it went on long enough to annoy me. And
that's fair.
Sasha and Bayley are good.
Yeah. The only other thing I could say that I don't know if I disliked it, but it was meh. Why are Shane McMahon and the Miz a tag team? Like, I know kayfabe wise, and I know why.
So what are you asking exactly?
Who sat here and was like, that is the idea we're going
Can I say, as much, like none of the matches they've had have been great. But I do think the story was good. I enjoyed a lot of it over the course of the last few months, actually.
I think the Miz is giving it his all. I think that's the one saving grace.
And also, Shane's not that bad. He's clearly bad. And if we could do this with someone else, that would be amazing. But he's not that bad. He's obviously not a good wrestler. He's not a good actor. Nope. He's a terrible puncher. But he fit the role in this story quite well. And I don't know. I think it was laid out quite nicely. It was okay. I kind of wish it didn't end this way, because every story like this ends this way.
I'm afraid for their Mania match.
I think it's going to be fine.
I hope it's fine. I trust The Miz a lot with a lot of stuff. Shane McMahon...
Well, Shane's going to jump off things.
Yeah.
That might be the end of him.
The one really saving grace, I think, for this match in my mind is there's one particular spot or whatever when Shane goes up to do the coast to coast, and then one of the Usos climbs up and goes to do the splash, and Shane kicks him out of midair. I thought that was actually really well timed.
There was always spots from these matches. In the last Usos match, he did a elbow drop through the announcer table, and afterwards you could tell he was just like fucked. And the way he looked over at Miz after Miz got pinned, and he was out of it. Miz was looking at him like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and Shane was like, "Where am I?
Where am I?" Well.
So I thought it would have been cool if they had won the belts tonight again. Yeah, because it was in his, it was in Cleveland, right? And
right.
And it would have just been fun. If I was going to message you actually during Fastlane. I wasn't sure if you were watching it, saying, "Oh, WWE are going full on territory. They're doing the exact same story from last month, but with a different enemy." And so basically sub out the bar for the Usos and have them win the titles again.
Right.
But they didn't go that direction. I think it would have been cool if they would have won the belts again and then lose them to someone fresh at Mania. Like, the Usos need more title reigns. They've got like 6, and they're like the tag team of the last decade.
They are like that tag team's decade. They are that decade's tag team for the Fed. You know what I mean? Like, they've played both roles in 2 completely separate runs that are both pretty good. And well, I mean, I say that because the face one got boring like within 9 months.
The 2 out of 3 falls match with the Wyatt brothers, the Wyatt brothers. I don't know what they were called back then. The Wyatt family? I don't know. Back in like
were they the Bludgeon brothers?
They weren't yet. They weren't yet. It was like
they were just. Yeah, I think they were just Harper and Rowan. Weren't they?
It was the year that Reigns. I think it was 2014. I think it was Backlash 2014. I think it was the same card with the Fatal 4-Way for the Universal title. It wasn't the Universal title yet. It was the Undisputed title. With Cena, Kane, Reigns, and Orton. That was the Fatal 4-Way in the main event. It was terrible.
Kane. Why is Kane in all these matches?
Because Kane has worked very hard for a long time and needed a couple of runs before he became mayor or whatever. So yeah, no, it opened the show and it was really good, and then we didn't get the Seth Dean match that we were supposed to get that night. So everything went downhill in that pay-per-view. But the 2 out of 3 falls match they had was like really like until NXT started saying we do tag teams now. It was like one of the best tag team matches WWE had done for a long time. So the Usos definitely have a lot of respect from me, even if they do tend to, a lot of their stuff tends to meld together. But they even had that good run with Reigns when they were taking on AJ and Carl.
Yeah,
and
is what were they? The
Legacy? No.
Bloodline. Bloodline?
Bloodline?
I think so.
I'm a Broomoose.
I'm a Broomoose.
So yeah, so we covered the Shane Miz stuff briefly. I think it was good. The Mania match is going to be fine. Okay, we're coming to roughly the end of the show. I think we've got a few more things to cover. But while we're covering those, if any of the viewers have any questions, I already have one saved. Put them up in the chat and we'll answer them at the end of the show. But is there anything from Fastlane we've missed before I want to talk about one last thing?
Well, we've got the good.
Oh yeah. Wow, do we need to do that? I'm kidding. Go on. Yeah, the good. So what did you
Do we need to do that? I was like, I guess we don't. It seems kind of unfair.
I think what's funny about this is that we're going into the good now, and I swear we covered everything, but I might be surprised. What did you have?
We've touched on certain things. We haven't talked about at all about the Raw Tag Team.
What? When? Who? Oh, that was it a Fatal 4-Way?
The Revival versus Black and Ricochet versus Rude and Gable.
Oh, yeah.
Putty didn't like this match. Oh no.
I think I remember being okay with it. I don't think
I liked it a lot.
Okay, go on.
I thought it was really fun. I think that it did its job perfectly, showing that Black and Ricochet are both really important people. Rude and Gable were there to bump. And the Revival were there to be the heel tag team champions and to retain their belts. I think everything that it was supposed to do was done well. Ricochet did his, what's that one spot where he jumps over the turnbuckle or whatever, like the whole thing, you know what I mean? When he like runs at a corner and then jumps over turnbuckle on the other side. Rude caught him perfectly. Like I remember that. That's how good it was. All around, you had some guys who could do some flashy stuff mixed with 2 tag teams full of pretty all-around solid wrestlers. And I think that, it did its job all around. So, yeah.
Yeah, I found my notes for it. I said it was an okay, an eventful squash with good work.
Yeah, you could probably say that.
But, no, I can definitely say, I mean, I it didn't catch my attention, but I am not surprised that it was a good match.
US belt, Fatal 4-Way.
Oh yeah, so yeah, we talked about that briefly, that I was expecting Mysterio Almas.
Right, yes.
And I do like Joe and Truth, but I would have preferred the singles match.
Yes.
I thought this was good. I thought this was the 3rd best match on the card. But again, nothing spectacular about it. These guys have really good chemistry. They work fast, they work well, and it was just it was fine.
I think everybody played their role in it pretty well. Ray being the little guy, Joe being the big guy, Andrade being the medium guy, R-Truth being the comedy guy.
That's racist.
All of the sizes of people. That's racist. Yeah, again, I think everybody does their job here, and they do it well enough.
Okay. Anything else?
The WWE title triple threat match.
We talked about that.
Did
Pretty
we?
in depth. Yeah.
Oh, I'm dumb. I thought we didn't.
We talked. Well, it was kind of mixed in with a bunch of Kofi talk.
Oh right, yeah. No, that's good enough then. We did that.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good match, especially the sprint at the end. I mean, one thing we didn't mention specifically is that is that I thought Ali did exceptionally at turning that crowd.
He's so good. He's so good. There was literally a moment where I think it was the 450 under the apron, and kind of the spots in around that with him, where I literally said to myself, just sitting there alone here on my computer watching the show, Ali is so good.
I mean, his feud with Buddy Murphy last year is probably my favorite, television feud in quite a while.
Yeah. I'm very happy to see that he's. I don't know if translated very well is. That's racist. No.
He's from Chicago.
No, but I think the fact that he has carried over, I want to say his match quality from 205 Live to SmackDown is, I think, a good sign for most other cruiserweights. Because, like, people typically see, like, a weird dip sometimes in quality from NXT to the main roster. But I guess that fear kind of depends on whether or not you consider 205 Live the main roster or not. So,
well, I think 205. I think his match quality has dipped since coming from 205, but it's just a different product. It's difficult to recreate that. And if he ever gets featured singles pay-per-view matches, then they will be exceptional, most likely.
I will say also it probably relates to the fact that Ali is often not paired with like people who probably compliment him the best, because 205 Live, right? You've got a whole bunch of really small guys, and you have one guy who specifically compliments him. Amazing in Buddy Murphy. But his stuff with Brian was pretty good. I think he wrestled AJ once or twice. I remember both of them being
that
pretty good.
Tag match everyone was raving about at the start of the year. I think he teamed with
when he first showed up. Yeah,
Ray to take on Almas and Joe. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that. I found it. That's the match. Anything else from Fastlane that we haven't talked about?
I believe that's the whole thing. The only thing that isn't a match on here, but as you said, you watch wrestling for the matches. Elias kept popping up, and then Lacey Evans showed up.
Yeah, we should talk about that. I thought the Elias stuff was okay. He's clearly over, so they should find a role for him, and he can't wrestle. I think that's a good. He was the Drifter, right?
Yes, but I have a question for you to follow that up.
Sure.
Was he not a face for a couple months?
I don't know.
People say he wasn't a face, but I swear he fought like Bobby Lashley during the big like Heat Inc. takeover of like the fall. Remember that when like
I gotta tell
Baron
you,
Corbin
my
just
knowledge of
fucked everyone
Raw
up.
Since the brand split, it's just not like Raw. Whenever it's been good, has had good matches. Whereas with SmackDown, when it's good, it's got matches and angles. So I tend to watch the whole show. Whenever I watch Raw, it's just the matches. So I have no idea.
Yeah, so it was like right around when Roman announced his leukemia was back, they randomly started having Elias fight like Bobby Lashley a whole bunch. But then he was just a bad guy again the moment that ended. And I was like, wait, was that not you turning him face so you could capitalize on the fact that he's like really over? Apparently not.
I don't really need an answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What's the deal with Lacey Evans? Why is she a thing?
She's blonde.
She is.
She's attractive.
Allegedly.
To Vince McMahon.
Okay.
She can't really wrestle that great, though.
Oh, no.
So maybe we can just have her walk.
Me, or is her gimmick really bad?
Her gimmick is weird, right? Because she was originally like an army woman, right? She was like an ex-Marine or something like that. And then they've slowly translated that into like
white supremacist.
She's like a 50s throwback character, and it was really weird because it was like, wait, is this the Deuce and Domino comeback everybody's been waiting for? And then it wasn't, and then she like tweeted some shit about like women knowing their place, and now she's basically just a white supremacist. Vince is like all in on her.
I don't know about all in. They've at least, it seems, made her stop wrestling, which is fine, I guess.
Well, there were the rumors, though, that she was set to feud with Becky after Mania. No matter what happens at Mania, she is Becky's next feud.
Oh, well, I mean, let's see how that goes.
Yeah.
Also,
these were back in January, I'll say.
Also, that segment was fun, but was it not just random as fuck, the last one? Where it's like, and then Elias appeared, and then Lacey appeared, and then AJ appeared, and then Randy appeared, and it all went to shit.
Watching it, I actually just started laughing. Like, because I don't even know what the fuck, like, why? Why was Orton, is that the build to Orton versus AJ at Mania, I assume?
I think so.
Just, you interrupted Elias, but I wanted to interrupt Elias, I guess. Like,
no, I think
why were they both
I think
there?
Brian and AJ have had some prior. Not Brian. Orton and AJ had some prior.
Yeah, they've had like little back and forths. I think they've been on like opposite sides in like, a couple tag matches or something like that, and then
AJ is trying to prove that his springboard maneuver is more spontaneous than the non-springboard maneuver that Orton employs.
Yeah, like
Orton's like, all right, take me somewhere that there's not ropes. Aha.
like a what was it? Like a House of Horrors or whatever.
No.
Not there. Anywhere but there.
Anywhere but there. Okay, so that's enough Fastlane, I think. Overall, out of like whatever rating scale you want to give the show, what rating would you give the show?
Oh, jeez, I have to give it a rating.
Yeah. Anyway, you can come up with a rating scale though, so you can just make it completely arbitrary.
Oh,
I think I'm gonna give it a grade. That's what I used to do on this show.
I think grades are easier than like stars, because I was thinking stars immediately, and I'm like, that's really hard. I would give it maybe a B- or a B, which is really good considering kind of what the Fed has done in the past couple months. I think. Yeah, it's far better than.
I kind of got the same reasoning, but I'm gonna go higher because I do think that just because of the how well I think a lot of these angles hit. And again, I really liked. I think the main event. If Dean does leave,
you really like the main. So
if Dean does, it's not like I thought the main was 5 stars or anything. But if Dean does leave, I think this show is going to be one of those where, I mean, this is an old thing now, but where you get the DVD out and you think, oh yeah, that was quite a big deal at the time, and it's going to be quite a historic show. So I'm going A- on it. I think it's one of the best shows, the top to bottom WWE have done in quite a while, actually.
I will say there's nothing. Aside from maybe Becky Charlotte, that was, I think, like a complete and total miss. Which even then, you can debate that Becky and Charlotte wasn't a total miss.
Yeah,
I think they were on their way
to. I think they were on their way to a good match before.
Yes, yeah. I agree with that 1,000%. Because I even kind of started to kind of get that when they started to do kind of the comeback spots for Becky, like just as Ronda showed up. I think she was in the middle of like her first or second kind of comeback spot, and I was like, okay, this is working. But I think aside from like kind of that choice there, I think a lot of the stuff on this show was pretty spot on. There's nothing that I can exactly look at and go, that's a questionable choice at this point. What are we doing here?
Yep, so that's Fastlane. We are going to move on to one final topic before we take viewer questions. We have a few saved up, but if anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Batista Triple H, what do you think?
Dave Bautista, this is Paul Levesque speaking on behalf of Richard Flair. You son of a bitch. Why are we just doing this?
Because, I mean, out of all of the part-timer things over the last few years that Triple H has been involved in, this is probably the one I'm most interested in. Because I
don't even remember what he's done in the past.
Sting, Roman.
Oh, no.
He did Brock. Taker.
Oh, God. Well, I really liked one of those.
Okay. Which one?
I had, at one point. I really liked the Hell in a Cell one.
I like the Hell in a Cell too.
You keep telling me to rewatch it, they'll come down on it. It's like, it's the best match I've ever seen.
Yeah, never.
Keep it away from me.
Never watch it. Never meet your heroes. So, yeah. So you're not interested in it. I am. I like that Batista has gone full meta. He's wearing blue sunglasses. He's got a blue nose ring. Like, I love that.
He's got the nose ring. Like,
I love that. He's good at what he does, although he's clearly does not give a solitary shit about this.
No.
You can tell. He's
no.
Give it to me! Give it to me! Triple H's like, no! Give it to me! No! Give it to me! Fine! Comes up with security guards. We'll do this on my terms. And Triple H is like, fine, we'll do it on your terms, but we'll also do it on my terms. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
We've literally gone like full blown 2005, even like with the tag team. of like,
holla holla player, you'll get your match, but it's gonna be a no holds barred match, player.
Holla. Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a match. I
mean, the match is gonna be terrible, but Batista deserves to do whatever the fuck he wants.
I think Batista deserves to do whatever the fuck he wants just because of how badly they fucked up that 2014 run for him when he was like supposed to be the big triumphant returning babyface, and they just like. But what about that Daniel Bryan guy?
Imagine if they had delayed it a year, and Batista comes back triumphant babyface to beat Reigns at 2015 Rumble.
Yeah, dude, they're all over that. People are like, "You are this superior, large Samoan guy who." Wait a minute. To be fair, I don't know how long it would take people to realize. Wait a minute. Which one is better?
Well, at the 2014 Rumble, they wanted Reigns, of course.
Remember? Yeah, but I think that's just... Oh, I remember that even, because I thought then, I was like, if Reigns had won, that would have been so fucking cool. And then, by 2015, and he had won, I just remember being like, well, this isn't very cool. I don't know if it's just... I know, I assume it is just a, hey, that isn't what is expected to happen, so...
Well, I think it was anyone but Batista, obviously, at the time. And also, like, Reigns had a big year of unfortunate things
anyone
happening.
But Ray.
Yeah, like, Reigns had the injury. His first two feuds were with, like, Kane and Orton. So anybody's going to look like a bad singles wrestler after that, really. And then he had the whole live by satellite thing where he just bombed. So... You know, a lot of the start of Reigns' push was botched. That's why everyone hated him.
They did throw him a lot of just random promos where he was awful. Like, the thing that sticks out in my...
Oh, go on, yeah.
The thing that sticks out in my head, of course, was Suffer and Succotash, son. Yeah, like, wow. They really made him say that.
But I think obviously the promo stuff's going to go down like a lead balloon anyway. But having his first big pay-per-view singles match be Randy Orton... really tinged people's view of him, because if he starts and he has one with Brock or Cena or Bryan was injured at the time, Seth or Dean, you know, at that time, then people would have been like, oh yeah, he was really good in the Shield and he was really good after. But unfortunately, because he was put in there with Orton, who people kind of assume is a good wrestler, but he's really not.
No, he's...
And they had a really terrible match at SummerSlam. They were like, oh, he was clearly the weak link in the Shield. And then as soon as you actually put him up against the good people, you realize how good he actually is. But yeah, but because the first match was with Orton, and they had like 4 months off afterwards, the perception just grew. So, anyway.
And then he came back, and then they immediately were all in on him.
Yeah. Which at that point, people just dug in. Even when he started having matches with Bryan and stuff like that, the damage was done.
Well, I mean, I will say, having him go over, like, just returning biggest babyface in the company, Daniel Bryan, was also not probably the best choice.
Yeah. I mean, it was a great... I mean, maybe it was that played... I mean, it convinced me, because even though, like... I wasn't like, oh yeah, this is a great decision. This is going to go over well. At least I saw, oh, he is actually a really good wrestler, at least.
Oh yeah, no, I'm certain the match was fine, but I don't remember that. I don't remember that match at all.
Oh, I just remember. I
just remember Bryan losing after coming back from injury after being like the number one guy, and I was
worked
like,
that match heel. Interestingly,
that I do remember. That I do remember. I remember they attempted something there, but nobody was going to have it. So did they drop it pretty quick, or did they continue the match with it?
They did the full match as him doing heel, playing heel.
Because was he doing a lot of like ground shit then?
Oh yeah, full jiu-jitsu.
That's what I was about to say. He was doing. He even talked about it later on, I think, when he talked about doing like a lot of ground-based stuff when he came back, so then he didn't like fuck up his neck at all.
Which is funny because that's what he used to do. Like the flying stuff came when he joined the WWE. But,
well, because you can't just like grapple people. What the fuck's wrong with you? Come on.
Indeed, especially as a babyface. But I think we talked enough, unabated, unaided by the audience. So that's most of our show. We're gonna take audience questions. We have 3, but if anybody would like to add while we're going, you feel free to do so. I'm going to save Marshall's till last because it's off the topic of wrestling, so it's a good one to leave to the end.
Oh, jeez.
So we'll start with Fluffy's. What do you think about intergender wrestling potentially returning to the WWE?
I'm not against it. I'm not exactly for it. I don't have an opinion on it. I think if the matches are good, then sure. I think if the idea is just to have Nia Jax fight everybody, oh no, please, no more of that.
I thought Nia Jax specifically in the men's rumble was good, but I agree with you in general that I wouldn't like to see that.
Yeah, no, I think her spot in the men's rumble worked great as a spot, right? As like a big spectacle moment. But I think that if you ever got her one-on-one in the match with like, oh god, Kane, I
mean, she could probably work Rey Mysterio, but everyone can these days, apparently. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say she could definitely work somebody smaller, but at that point, like, I guess there is no difference between her wrestling women or her wrestling men. I guess, which I guess is kind of the big point in intergender wrestling.
Well, I think I'm always when I don't really have that much of a stake in intergender wrestling, other than thinking the world's cutest tag team was a great run. Like, just to put that out there. Other than like those two killing it against the Young Bucks a couple of years ago, I don't really have much of an opinion on it. And I see both sides, because on the one hand, I think this is fake, like, and we want to promote gender equality, so let's just present them as equal, even if physically they're not. This is fake. It doesn't matter. And then there's the other side, and the domestic abuse implications, which I don't totally get on board with all the time. But no, but I do understand. Like, if people feel that way, then their opinions aren't, and their feelings aren't wrong. But
if there's like concern there from somebody watching, like, you have to take that into account as somebody who's like making a program, right? Like, if you're possibly making your viewers feel uncomfortable, then you have to take that into consideration. You can't just say that no, you don't feel that way. You like what I like, and I'll tell you what you like.
That brings up a good point, and it's kind of a different angle on this about wrestling by weight class. And unfortunately, the thing with wrestling by weight class in the way it's currently presented in wrestling is that there's just aren't enough people. If you look at real fighting that's on weight class, obviously we have a few weight classes in wrestling, cruiserweights and junior heavyweights. But if you do proper real life fighting weight classes, there's just not enough people, because you've got to have you'd have 10 divisions at that point, right?
Do you know what is it called? MLW. They have a middleweight championship, and I don't know what it means to be a middleweight versus in
real fighting, middleweight is 185 pounds to 200 pounds.
Because I think MJF had it, and then he lost it to like a smaller guy who I can't think of off the top of my head.
I'd love to have all the weight classes that real fighting has in wrestling, but the problem with real fighting, one, you don't fight as often, for one thing, and two, their rosters are massive. Even bigger. WWE might be able to pull it off, but even then, you're so restricted. And WWE have such terrible matchups as it is already. To restrict that to any guy within 10 pounds of you, and
Big Show versus Kane every week.
Also, everybody's on. And the thing with this being an intergender point is everybody on the men's side are on so many steroids, and everybody on the female side are held to such strict beauty standards that we'd never get intergender wrestling out of it, because all the females are 95 to maybe 120 pounds, and all the men are 250 plus mostly. Like, even the small weight division is 205, which is huge. 205 pounds is massive. So everybody's fucking huge on the men's side, and everyone's too fucking tiny on the women's side. So even if we had weighted wrestling, the genders would still be out of whack. So
a
lot of problems with that, unfortunately. I like the idea though. I've always wanted. I mean, whenever I play Feds and TW, I always come up with weird weight classes because I like real fighting.
I attempted to. And I failed.
So that's, I think, enough on intergender. We're both kind of ambivalent. We're interested to see how it goes. If the matches are good, the matches are good. There's some really good intergender matchups in my head that are dream matches that would be really good matches. But we'll see how WWE go about it. What do you think about Brock Lesnar retaining at WrestleMania?
Brock retaining is... it's a possibility I don't think I've ever played with in my mind, just because, I mean, I guess we've always assumed that Brock was going to lose the belt every single pay-per-view.
I have to say, when Seth won the Rumble, I assumed Brock was retaining, and I still assume Brock is retaining.
You still think so?
Yeah. Only thing that's kind of shifted is Reigns coming back, and so they might have Reigns corner Seth and have Seth win. But that's the only thing. Like, just on the balance of Seth Brock, my assumption is Brock retains.
My only thought is that the only way, like, at all, I see Brock leaving is if he is going to UFC, which he has been for, like, the past year, maybe?
I mean, it's blatantly clear that he can go and fight DC without leaving the WWE.
Yeah. I'd almost certainly agree with that idea. I hope Brock doesn't retain, just because I think it's good for... I think the company, for the champion to be on TV, not necessarily, but even just to show up and be there. I think something that I think we took for granted, I guess, for the longest time, at least I did as a wrestling fan, was Cena and like him actually being there all the time. And kind of having Brock as champion he's been the champion now since like 2015, 2016, with like only like maybe 5 months where he hasn't in that whole range.
Yeah, well, I think you can go even further back. SummerSlam 2014, he won the the undisputed title or something like that, and he's
he lost it to Seth for that little bit, and then came back, won the belt, and basically hasn't dropped it since.
He's won a couple different belts.
You're right.
You're right. It's just transitioned from one brand to another or whatever.
Yeah, he's kind of just jumped back and forth wherever he holds the belt. He holds the belt.
His original belt, I think Reigns did win off of Triple H or something, and then
and then he won the and then he won the Universal belt off
Owens, I think.
Yes,
Goldberg.
he won it off of Owens.
Goldberg won it off of Owens.
Right. And then it's just been, this whole reign has lasted this long until the like 1 month where like Roman had it, and then, you know, obviously you can't plan for what happened to Roman to happen. But
well, according to some journalists.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like, depending on whether or not, which, you know,
we won't go into that today.
Yeah, that's certainly something. But no, I think it's definitely a possibility. A possibility I hope doesn't happen, but it definitely could happen. Yeah.
So I have been a long-time supporter of Brock Lesnar as champion, more than most people.
Yeah, you have.
I have been. And now, also, I've been a long-term critic of Brock Lesnar in a lot of ways. I've been on the other end of that, where people are like, "Oh, he's such a draw," and I for many years have tried to crusade against that argument because it's just not true.
The one big thing with Brock is that I find his pay-per-view matches are still really good, which sucks. If he was there all the time, I'd have no problem with him holding it for
Here's the problem,
ever.
though, and here's most of my point. Those matches are mostly good because he's not there all the time. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of my argument. And also, people need to have a little bit of context that in the era before this Brock thing, so many people wanted this in this, like, Smark community. This was kind of the overwhelming, like, we have too many title defenses. 12 a year plus is absurd. These titles have no meaning. We have 4 champions a year. It's, like, Sheamus has won, like, 4 world titles and, you know, whatever. You know, Cena's got 16 titles in like 11 years or something. It's you know, it's an absurd. Go on.
I'll say this, as somebody who was kind of, I think, on that train at one point, I'm still not totally against that idea. I just think that a champion needs to be there, like what NXT does, where the champion's always around. They may only defend it.
I don't think what WWE has done with Brock is perfect. There are a couple of things. I don't think the champion should be there. I think it adds to the mystique if they're not. But everyone should always be going for the title. Now, Sometimes they've done this. I remember Cena and Orton had a... this isn't the best example because this matchup is...
Oh, no.
But Cena and Orton had a Hell in a Cell match a few years ago as a main event of Hell in a Cell. That was a number one contenders match.
I thought Orton was winning that still, and then he didn't, and I was like, what? I remember that match. That's all.
Yeah. I think that match was all right, actually. But like in the hierarchy of the John Cena.
Yeah, it was better comparatively. Yeah.
Their best match, I still maintain, was one of their Royal Rumble matches where they like bust out each other's finishers. That was a really cool one. But what I think should have happened is when Brock isn't on TV, the main feud on the show shouldn't be the IC title. It shouldn't be anything like that. It should be who's next, and it should be every main event should be like a step to determining a true contender, and there should be a hierarchy. There should be some sort of structure. Paul should be on TV all the time, definitely, and saying no, you haven't.
Somebody should be there for him.
Yeah, you haven't earned a shot. It's got like you should actually have like instead of just saying Reigns gets a title shot every couple of months, it should be a genuine like that should be his arc is beating everybody else, because until he's beaten everybody else on Raw, Brock's not going to show up. That should be the point. Like you've got to be a dominant. Yeah, but like that, but they haven't played into it. I think that's honestly why people are annoyed. It's not necessarily that Brock's not there. It's because they haven't done anything with Brock not being there. And that's, I think, the problem that people need to look at. And that's fair. I don't think Seth, Reigns, or Finn winning the belt back is going to help people's problems with Raw. Nobody's going to watch because the belt's there. Like,
no, I even thought about this going into it because I wondered if something that was going to come up today is how do you like fix the feeling? I guess because I think there's a really. I don't know if it's a bad feeling in this company at this point, but there's something there that's obviously not there. And I don't think you can point to one thing. I think there's a lot of stuff that's just really broken right now that you can't just fix by switching the belt or something
what,
I like.
I think you're right.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think you're right that the factors that's causing this feeling can't be fixed, but there is one kind of makeup thing they can do, and it's not going to fix everything, but it is going to shift the company's direction, and that's have Becky win clean in the main event of WrestleMania.
It'll definitely help a feeling, because I think that in the kind of fall or whatever, when we had again, as I call them, Heat Incorporated, the big takeover angle where Baron just beat down everybody for like 20 minutes per angle on Raw. That wasn't like that was a problem that was created out of like the Fed. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think anybody sat down and said, we're going to do this. I think that's just a result of how the company is generally ran, if that makes any sense. Like, I don't feel that they specifically messed up on that one angle, that they booked it wrong, and that if they had changed a few things, it would have worked. I think that whole thing was fucked from the start because I think the writing is just too... I don't know. Like, that's the big thing also. Like, I don't know what the fuck the problem is. Is it Vince? The guy who has all say
something we have to realize is that...
tired. Like...
We come at this from, like, there's a problem.
Yes.
And while I do think the product is at various stages of quality, it's important to remember that since... probably 2015 in a major way, but definitely since 2011 in a minor way, the product has just been getting more mainstream. And that's just like in 2011 when all the indie guys came back, all the indie fans came back, and then from there 2015-ish when the product had a minor peak because of Bryan, and mainstream kind of took off with it, and then UFC's gotten a lot more popular since Conor McGregor started being a thing, and that has brought WWE into more prominence because the two are so related now.
Right.
The mainstream is there now, especially like Mania is getting bigger every year.
Yeah.
That like WWE's doing better than it ever has financially.
Yeah.
Probably better than even the Attitude Era. So, you know.
Oh yeah.
What I like about WWE and what I need to look for from them is variety of content. If they're giving me 2 NXTs and 205 Live and tournaments every now and then on the network, like, cool, they've given me enough content to watch this. Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-views, not necessarily for me. It's a little sad because even when I haven't liked Raw and SmackDown for about a decade, But I used to really like those pay-per-views. They used to be just random matches that were really good. But John Cena retiring is definitely, well, not retiring, semi-retiring has hurt that a lot. I wish they'd just get back to super fights on these cards, but I guess they're trying to tell stories, and some people like that. But I don't watch WWE for the stories. I watch it for the matches. I watch like other wrestling for stories, like Progress or New Japan or something like that.
Yeah.
Go on.
You mentioned that, and I think that's probably the biggest problem. They have so much talent now. Like looking at the WWE roster, right? Like they're so deep in talent, like in-ring talent. I don't want to say that there isn't always enough room for everybody, because that's obviously not true. But I think it's this focus on story is kind of undermined by the fact that, and again, I don't know whether the writers are just bad or if, they write 20 fucking hours of content every single week, or if, maybe Vince makes some decisions that throw off everything, or maybe they make some decisions and Vince tries to fix things, or maybe Triple H messes with Vince and there's this like backstage mini politic war going on, like some people thought was going on for like a year in like 2017, I think. But there's the storytelling, I think, is so disconnected, and there's no set tone for any show aside from NXT or 205 Live, where 205 is clearly like a sport show. It's about fighting these matches, and whoever wins all these matches, well, they'll get a shot at the title. Or NXT, where it's a territory where people show up and they leave and they pass through, and you've got the champion, you've got the tag team champion.
It's very culty.
Yeah, very this cult kind of territory. I would say territory-esque feel, because I think that
for sure.
Trips is very obviously a very big fan of the territory style of wrestling. But I think what the main roster lacks is that kind of focus, because what is Raw? Raw is supposed to be this mainstream show that's a big soap opera, so the focus should be on the characters. Tell me something about, I don't know, Bobby Lashley. He's big.
He
flexes a lot.
He's the dom in a homosexual relationship with a very little man.
Yeah. Tell me something about Drew McIntyre, aside from he's crazy, maybe? Because they keep calling him the Scottish psychopath, even though shouldn't he be the Scottish psychopath going by his actions? Dean Ambrose is a face and a heel. I think the biggest problem with Raw, specifically, 3-hour Raw, is that you have all this time to develop characters, yet you don't. And I think that's probably where the main issue comes down to, especially now that, as you're saying, they're kind of more focused on trying to tell these long-term stories. You can't tell a long-term story if you don't know who
I think
your main characters are.
I want to wrap up this point, because we've been going for quite a while. But
we are, yeah.
But I will try and make one point in that regard, and if you have anything else to say, you can add it after. I think the biggest thing with Raw is that they've tried over the last few years to move more towards match time over angle time. But the problem is, if they want to tell these stories, which they clearly still want to do, they need to learn. The agents and the writers, because the wrestlers know, but the agents and the writers of Raw, and kind of the WWE as a whole, needs to learn how other companies do physical storytelling. Because so many companies tell their stories in the matches. And what happens on Raw is often the matches just feel pointless. They don't tell stories in them. So I think
it's meant to tide you over until the pay-per-view happens.
So we'll have time to talk about this in the future, I'm sure. But generally, how would you feel if Brock retains, in a word?
Generally, how I will feel somewhat disappointed.
That's 2 words.
You said 1 word?
Yeah, in a word.
Oh, what's the word? Disconjointed.
Okay, I will feel ambivalent. We have a question that was directed at me, but I'm going to open it to you as well, which was, will you be uploading to TW 2020 when it comes out?
I think so at this point. there's a lot of things that are going to change in between now and even the end of the year. I'm going to university, for example. So it'll kind of depend on what that looks like for me.
Yeah, it depends for me as well. I'm currently in negotiations to come up with a sequel series to a series that we ran this year in TEW. Those negotiations are ongoing and private and confidential under NDA. Although they did happen over Twitter briefly.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll have to see on that one. Personally, I'm still not quite ready to tell any more stories. I don't have a burning desire to. So who knows? I'm not really burning to tell wrestling stories or anything like that at the moment. So I would probably doubt, but come back to me when it's closer. Maybe I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm super into pro wrestling again, and I want to tell stories. But I'm really happy with what I did in 2016. I had 3 series that all told very different stories, and a lot of my wrestling energy just came out in those. Like all of the stories I kind of wanted to tell territorially, sports enti, and crazy anime lucha, that all kind of happened. And I do recommend, if you haven't seen any of my TW 2016 series, that you go watch them, because they are some of my best work, and especially the Oli series, which got slept on. If you're into more crazy side of lucha, then it's got some cool stuff in there. Demons versus Dragon Gods. So another question: are they actually on steroids? So I'm just going to give you two case studies, and you can decide for yourself. Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar wrestled in the WWE for 6 years. Then went to the UFC for 1 fight and got popped for steroids. Bobby Lashley was in a fighting company called Bellator, where he was very good and a very dominant heavyweight, but he never got signed by the UFC. I wonder why. He's now in the WWE. I'll let you make your own mind. Tucker, do you have any comments on the WWE's potential steroid usage?
Vince McMahon, he never forced me to use steroids. He never held that against me. No.
Alright, we're down to our last question, unless anybody sneaks one in. Tucker, why won't you come back to the Blood Bowl?
Why won't I come back to the what?
The Blood Bowl.
Oh, Blood Bowl. That's an interesting question, because I often don't know why I don't enjoy certain things. It could have just been a time thing. In actuality, I don't know. I sometimes just get bored of things sometimes, and it's probably my fault. I have the attention span sometimes of like a toddler man. I don't know. It's not out of the question, but I'd have to play Bud Bowl. I'd have to play Bud Bowl again and see how I felt.
There's your answer. So, nobody else asked any questions in the meantime. So, let's wrap this up. You can spend a little time plugging things if you wish.
Like
your book that we've mentioned all episode.
My book. You can buy my book soon. They'll have it soon, so just be on the lookout for the book that's coming out soon. I've got my channel, Silly Talk with 1 L. I know it's weird. I do an ECW series on there. December of 1997. We're now in the summer of 1999. I have a lot of fun with it. I think it's probably my best solo work I've ever done. That's not saying much. I did at one point have the Dean Ambrose-led Bullet Club in TNA. Oh, God, I'll never let myself live that one down.
Wait, what?
What do you mean?
Never mind. I'm gonna leave that one for another episode.
Oh no. Yeah. It's fun. I have fun with it. We have comments on the videos such as, your ECW series makes me hard, and Tuck, you're my dad. So
that guy would definitely like the Miz Shane McMahon storyline.
He definitely would.
You have anything else to plug? Anything else to say to the loving audience before we wrap up?
No, not really.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming back on the show. Whenever we're talking Graps, you're always welcome. And speaking of people who
Anytime.
are always welcome, as I mentioned last on Sunday, if any of the viewers want to come on and have a chat, then you are welcome to contact me with a topic or message me in any way. I haven't set up an email yet, but I'm giving out my Discord name. It is Puddy5806. Puddy5806. If you want to message me, feel free to. You might get on the show. Thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you guys this Sunday for the next Sunday podcast, where Marshall may or may not be there, and I may or may not have Tony Blair. We'll see you there.